A lot of y'all can feel external, especially computerized stimuli. You don't know why. You think you might be the only one. You don't know what to call it or what to make of it. I can help clarify that. My name's Chris. I'm not an astrophysicist or like a super duper nerd. I'm just a smart guy who likes to learn how things work. Because everybody who ain't trying to seek out what this lady was saying, y'all not trying to know no way. And everybody who is, when you seek it out, you'll find it. And the information will blow your mind. So if it's coming from a talking piece of dookie at first, great. Just as long as it gets your attention, you can pay attention to it. Her name is Sabrina Wallace, by the way.
Dude, you're not hurting my feelings, believe me. Nobody cares. They really don't.
Mai bine șezi și asculți un pic ce spun, fără să spui după că știai oricum, nu știai, îți spun.
COVID injection is exactly based on this idea.
De-am vorbit eu până acum, eu-s deștept, tu ești prost și
So all these fluids, right, there are nanoscale machines inside, right? So when you look inside.
atât. Stai așa.
Ești gata să verifici?
Chiar da.
Beginning of our golden age. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My heart goes out to you.
I don't have too much to add. So thank you very much.
Could you just say one word for solving things, cancer and all the different problems? How will AI help us?
These guys can maybe share more.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is using AI, once we gene sequence that, early cancer detection with a blood test. You can then vaccinate the person, mRNA,
Doing, doing, doing.
the AI, and the promise of the future.
Great, thanks.
Still there?
Nu-i nimic doar într-un fel. O parte are mai multe părți. Ce nu înțelegi nu suport sau negi, te răzvrătești. Neajunsul convertești la caracterul tău și ieși în lume, povestești despre crezul tău, aduci dovezi că vrei să te convingi pe tine, nu pe ei. Succes.
They just banned TikTok for 12 hours. Like, what was I supposed to do in the first place? It's a joke, y'all. It's a whole entire clown show. I don't know how else to tell you. I'm gonna let Sabrina tell you.
It's called control. It's anatomy.
Whoa. You mean it's this simple? You connected our own anatomy to the wireless?
Poți să simți energie doar ca să înțelegi că ești un suflet. Țineți mâinile așa și nu le apropia, doar fă asta. Și dacă nu simți nicio tensiune, ești în pula mea un NPC de ăla, degeaba există oricum. Îți vede peste tot, dacă ești prea prost să nu vezi asta, dacă nu o vezi și crezi că sunt eu prăjit.
802.15.6 is in the IEEE standard working group.
Because that wasn't enough.
There's layers and layers.
Cine nu joacă pierde, își ia cu pietre. Nu știu prea multe, dar și aud deja e pe jar cu fier. Nu joacă fair play, am auzit că-s nebun. Nu sunt, sau poate sunt.
Oh, that's what they told you. Did they also tell you remote viewing was an additional category and network within the 802.15 working group? Did they happen to mention that? Oh!
Mulți renunță pe loc când află, de-aia dau cu praf de mers până tăfleți care spun lasă. Las că știu eu mai bine, hai să o văd și pe asta. Trecutul se repetă, prin asta ne învață. Dacă nu înțelegi sau nu o vezi, poți să-ți vezi de viață.
Oh, they let you see Stranger Things. They didn't bother telling you how it's not just a fake story. This is actually what actually has been going on since the 50s and 60s, if not before.
Sper să n-ajung Haralambie, vântul velă care pala vrabi. Levitează gola-n pe corabie, am fost decorat de gorab cu o sabie, dar-mi scos șuriul la modul ce faceți, băi? Vrei să mai bine nu știi, dar vezi că nu prea
And here you are just figuring it out in 2025. Let's keep it moving.
Nu mă proiectez oricum, n-apreciez dacă te ajut, că știi tu mai bine oricum, nu? Și eu-s nebun, eu nu înțeleg, nu știu ce spun, nu?
They're using the one term that you're familiar with loosely enough that supposedly ended this pandemic so that they can shoehorn all of this technology through that has nothing to do with mRNA at all. It's just they can't actually tell you that they can wirelessly access your biofield.
Google it, bitch. Nu ai fost acolo.
And it's been kind of worked into the official terms of the official working groups of the official, standards of this world. They can't just come out and say that.
Băi, ești nebun.
So they got to be like, well, mRNA? I mean, you don't know how it works, do you?
Băi, ești prost, bă. Ești nebun, bă.
I didn't think so. So, as far as you know, it's mRNA. mRNA, that's what it is.
mRNA
Doink, doink, doink.
for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that available in 48 hours.
Băi, ești nebun. Trei țară neamul că poți să semeni cu Celentano. Original, bă. Băi, ești prost, bă.
So I said, okay, if y'all just want to hear a bunch of bullshit, I can be on my bullshit too. I'm gonna let Sabrina be on hers.
Nu vă mai speriați de virus, ei vă zic, bă. Alții au murit și n-au pățit nimic, bă.
I don't think they care because they think they're gonna live forever. You get it yet?
Ești bolnav, nu ești bolnav, vei fi vindecat forțat în calitate de asistat social izolat în dulap.
You live forever and jump into a new body. That's been going on since the 1800s.
That's been going on since the 1800s? That's right.
Acum 100 de ani oameni erau sterilizați forțat. Nu la noi în țară, dar ai de învățat. Eugenism, te preocupă ego, pe mine eugenismul. Ei vor ca tu să renunți și văd că le faci filmul. Să-mi bag pula, fugim în munți, iar când vine timpul păpușarii au control asupra tot. Media, învățământ, sănătate, monopol. Creează și modelează opinia unui om. Pe tine certă noi între noi, ei mai trag de sfori. Ce să-ți mai spun, bă?
It's focusing on all the wrong things. That's why I'm trying to be like, it can't just be me. I can't just be me. Somebody else gets it.
Well, you're not going to know because they don't give real semaphore to the profane.
And they consider you the profane.
E mai mult un manifest. Arta și cultura sunt mai mult ca un pretext. Sacru și profan sunt convenții omenești, pentru că dacă nu se vinde, nu prezintă interes.
We're not dealing with reality. We're dealing with a bunch of feelings. We're dealing with a bunch of conspiracy theory about Illuminati, Masons, and other garbage that they've been pushing on everybody for 5 years.
Asta fiind a pandemia oară când se întâmplă. De la Ciuma Antonine la Justinian s-a întins sute de ani. Îi ziceau moartea neagră în Europa. S-a născut cândva, a apărut și în alte locuri, dar...
You people out there are more wrapped up in Trump's hair. You had no idea about the Agenda 2030 goals,
Nope.
nor did you want to know.
Nope.
You scream religious platitudes or religious badgering, and you won't talk about industry that makes money. You won't talk
Big
about
data.
where your investment portfolio is actually harnessing its interest payments. You call yourself an adult?
E ceva ce nu se spune, parcă n-are importanță. Nu-i nimic real în cariera ta de zdreanță.
Dude, I grew up with you people. I know how you operate. You're one way in the office, another way at home. You're duplicitous. You're two-faced, maybe five-faced. You didn't think that would eventually catch up? Okay, Mustard, we're here.
Ce înseamnă transumanism? Transumanism va fi împinarea între om și mașină. Se va petrece în 10-20 de ani la nivelul de chipuri, de...
relay nodes within you using intrabody terahertz nano networks. You might not have ever heard that word, but there's entire college courses and job descriptions that specifically specify and that specific speciality, okay? That communicate, glucose levels, electrical states that can then get modeled and translated into something in a bigger system and then passed either via bootstrapping to your Apple Watch, your phone, your Fitbit, your iPad or whatever, or via the electromagnetic frequencies that come off your body having been interfaced with what they call a cybersecure, cyber-physical backbone. So,
nu știu, poate așa ești nebun că zic de Dumnezeu pe piese, dar dacă vorbesc despre diavol sunt cool. Am început să-l printeze pe haine, îl glorifică, puști o să poartă oricum.
That they just don't want you to tell you is a little less extraterrestrial and crazy and a little bit more inherent to your own body's physiology that's being presently hijacked, okay?
Reîncarnarea unui reneu de transmisie stop. Bun venit în sistemul nervos central, bioelectromagnetic. electromagnetic pe frecvențe flux neuronal. Reconsideră binele, rezistă răului pe care îl fac de 2000 de ani. Totul temporar.
Y'all get it? They lie. Okay? So I'm gonna let Sabrina finish.
I mean, you come to Non-Vaxxers channel, you ain't got to spend more than, I'd say, 2 hours just kind of clicking through it all this, going, oh my, wow. And it's direct.
1% discută de drumuri pe Marte, pe bune, nu harfe. Ce-ai văzut în filme probabil urmează. E aproape, fi gata să devii dușman cu aproapele. Vedete, ajută la îndoctrinea capete. Conducători ne vor coopera și departe de cultura noastră și datina așa. Afară de ce ca și mine, sunt cine a mai cântat despre COVID? Nimeni. Repatitudine, știi ce zic și care m-a jignit personal și-a făcut răboi. Că aș fi antivaxer, s-a sucit când a început războiul, așa că las-o.
Cine știe, ține vorba, cine vede neagă. Presa ta ce cumpărată face bani, videotrap. Când îți e lumea mai dragă, mintea mea bolnavă întreabă de ce pula mea să bagi în casă o planetă întreagă.
And you've got all our children believing that everyone over 30 is a fucking idiot who screwed up the planet. That's the model revolution of the United States.
All of the kids think that all of the adults have already screwed up the planet.
Declar stare de alertă, pandemie de pulă bleagă. Hashtag căcat, dacă nu tac ăștia mă leagă. Apostolii lui Arahat s-au convertit cu șpagă. Slugile propagă, frica virusează veriga slabă.
That's the Mao revolution playing out in America. She's right. If you've never looked into Mao Zedong.
Se pe toți, bărbații să fie băieți, femeia să fie bărbat. Bărbatul adevărat astăzi e toxic, dar nu și femeia de oar de bărbat.
What his whole like model for subverting the children away from their parents was, now's about the time y'all start looking at it, because it's already live in America.
Parcă nu prea îți mai arde de o nuntă când orice femeie are o prietenă târfă care îi bagă în cap proiecții personale, toate începute, toate terminate, doar în pat. Și tot eu suntem de judecată, tot eu suntem de blamat, tot eu sunt inamicul aici acum, nu? Bine că am clarificat, bucur să fiu de folos la ceva. Succes și baftalo, v-au spălat pe cap trapări american cu Diablo, nu?
And I believe that we're seeing a new level of deception come forward and promise to cure all the things that the previous industry did not cure. Like cancer is a great example.
Big Brother promite blană, oferă piele întoarsă, dar și tu ești să iei pâine și te întorci cu bere acasă, ce contează?
I want people to watch this and be like, okay, that was either the craziest thing I've ever heard or he's making a lot of sense.
Cum echilibrăm ce nu putem să controlăm, întreb, și cum să înțeleagă românașul ce nu e ca el. Nu știu și știu că nu știu, eu nu știu.
A few futile primitive tools of perception, living in a universal pool of first-hand deception. The mind's job is to receive the signals and block out the ones that don't coincide with imprinted symbols. That way the information you obtain is recognized.
In order to do what they do, they need to affect an aspect of the Earth's resting frequency, otherwise known as the Schumann resonance.
Mai zi ceva să moară nimeni sau mai bine să trăiască cine vrea. Planeta era rotundă până să călcăm pe ea.
They need to decouple it for a second, and that decoupling allows for a magnetic adjustment to happen within it that shouldn't happen. I believe that coupling exists to protect you and your biofield, but it's basically hacked.
Frecvențe, cifre, linii, forme, cuvinte, culori, toate programate să te țină pe tine pe loc.
That's called pacification and control. Get on your knees, stare at the wall, pray to Jesus, we're busy. Go and work.
Să vorba aia așa o să primească niște bani, și spitalul o să primească niște bani, și băieții o să primească niște bani. Vai, 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 yeah. Mă adaptez, nu-s animal, dar fac o arcă pentru următorul vai.
Grown adults in the country I live in, even though all of us are pretty much under the same Swiss authority, bankers and mafia then trickle down to control and bribe the politicians, who then do what they're told and tell the plebes are going to do it, or because I'm a politician, I make it happen, but they don't. Anyways, like Chris said, layers upon layers.
Layers upon layers.
So he mentioned...
Sunt o conspiraționist sau sunteți voi legați la ochi? Ce-ți și cu generația woke? Românul era robot dinainte să existe în morții lui roboți. Vulpea încă stă pază la 9 porți.
And it's creating and inducing and entraining symptoms electrically, electrochemically, molecularly, piezoelectrically. And you ain't even get the machine to measure it, read it, know what it's about, know how to define it or nothing. You just got your little degree on that wall and you still got student loan payments. Ooh, ain't that a
Uite, pe plic scrie ție, fără timpuri, dar n-are niciun sens, la fel ca diploma lui Fitus. Descriu lumea cum o văd prin ochiul meu de ciclop.
How much money they're making, how much they believe the boomers destroyed the planet, that all old people are stupid, and is it any wonder? You people out there are more wrapped up in Trump's hair.
Sau ești probabil în zona în care lucrezi spre rău, știi? Și atunci normal că o să mă faci pe mine în fel și chip. De-aia, dacă e să iau o tabără, o să iau tabăra binelui. Întotdeauna m-am ales să fiu cât se poate de imparțial. Dar se vede că s-au luat taberele și tabăra mea e spre bine.
Care vede cuplu reciproc, că sunt înconjurat de proști. Eu n-am prieteni, n-am roboți ca Isus. Mulții mi place tot ce e mare, dar totul e mic văzut de sus.
And for those of you that believe that people cannot understand me, you are wrong. They are just coming in at different levels of learning.
Different levels.
And I'm not willing to turn around and dumb myself down.
Me neither.
For your COINTEL people to sit there and distract you, because that's what they've been doing.
Contextul evită, cine se aseamănă se acuză. Jigodii de oameni din zodii de aer. Ei sunt profesioniștii la tot ce-i degeaba. Leafa pleacă cu plata falsă, de fapt faceți Homo sapiens retard, mega birocratic.
They keep claiming that nobody knows about this stuff.
Reprogramați hormonal prin ce consumăm mental și comportamental cu fiecare scroll.
Because when they run out of flesh and clean blood, meaning non-vaccinated, and they're really going to start coming for people, you bet. And that's why a lot of your biblical people, they're like, nah, it's fine. I don't even want to know. I'll be over here with Jesus.
Prima părere ajunge să fie ultima părere. Primul suspect este victima 2. Prima victimă e a doua putere. Cine se joacă și cine nu joacă pierde. Cine nu joacă pierde.
Yeah. But those same biblical people, so far for me, they don't have a problem with me. It's those of you that are fraudulent that have a problem with me. Because you don't want to admit God made the body perfectly.
Bingo.
I do. I don't want people to be afraid. You do.
Nu, man, zic câți au coaie să spună ce spun eu, man. Uite cum e, nu contează dacă pentru piesa de astăzi nu mă asculți tu mâine.
That's obvious. Your behavior in the last 3 years makes this crystal clear to me. And to anybody else with eyes to see and ears to hear.
Răspunde piesei dacă mint acum. Nu înțeleg de ce continui să te minți atât.
And then there's you don't even know who I am or what division I work for, and I don't talk about it later. I'm talking about them. And, you know, this is what's really happening, y'all. I don't know what to tell you. God, dog, let Sabrina do it.
Unii cu sapă, alții cu mapa, bro. Așa-i de când lumea pe mapa. Munte văd dacă te dai al tom. Tu pe udăraton pe cox, spune că nu știi box. Să dai la cap, nu-i una cu să dai la sac, așa că las-o.
These are all papers on the channel that anybody can go read.
That everything I'm talking about got documentation.
Everything.
And I don't mean conspiracy blogs and wacky people with I'm a prophet and I know.
Vorba mea dă de mâncare poporului, sunteți la popotă. Hrană pe sufletul, zi de ce suferi dacă vrei ne și îmbătăm.
We don't have that. We have electronic warfare. We have molecular communication. We have realizing a high compact particulate matter sensor with a micro electromechanical system based resonant membrane. Your MEMS.
Your MEMS.
The way they monitor and manipulate the atmosphere. That's what you have here. IEEE sensors with enhanced fluorescence, and then your IEEE summer school on nanotechnology. Excuse me, 2024 part 1.
Uite-te ca la urs, șocat că nu m-am făcut de râs cu ce-am spus și nu m-am supus pe parcurs.
Motherfucker.
All these, I'm a doctor, I'm cybersecurity. You're frauds. Look at this. Man, this is Non-Vaxxers channel, so we'll be here all day. And you'll be watching MIT, the European Union, market size and growth in nanomedicine, IEEE MBS.
Filme, n-am TV, n-ascult radio, n-am de ce. Ce-am de spus eu nu-i decent pentru cetățeni aparent gen. Sunt ipocrită și tu la fel. Stai liniștit, știam, nu-i asum ce-am spus. Sunt conștient.
You'll see a bunch of my educational stuff too. But this type of stuff, NATO, NASA, CERN, the National Nano Institute, Biosensing and the Optical. These are white papers that he recorded the AI reading to you because I was like, dude, I'm reading so many papers. And, you know, people are whiny. I don't like her. So he had the AI read it to you.
Departe te duc, dar aproape de a face dreptate stângace. Dacă s-o facem altfel, ce dacă displace.
Thanks. You're welcome. We don't care. Dude, you're not hurting my feelings, believe me. Nobody cares. They really don't.
Bagi balgin, după ce mă asculți, ce vinam, că normalizați, târfe și înculți. Vă traduc ce-am spus mai sus. De fapt mai devreme vă spuneam că nu ies marionete din toate lemnele.
I don't don't know anybody who complains about your hair. Well, that's good, don't you think?
Hai gata că n-am timp de pierdut, ești nebun.
Ia loc pe scaun mormoloc și ascultă la un hot-dog să vezi fără echivoc ce e drept ca un polopop.
I don't think the death of my child or my children or myself is worth your lying mouths.
Vezi că nu-ți pacifist, însă nici tiran. Insist până sortirea terminații din teritoriul meu vin iar ca un curent teluric pentru toți românii fără vlag.
And instead of treating this the way you claim, which is the world's going to end any day, we have no idea what we're doing, oh my God, revelation is here, then why are you lying about God's creation?
Prietene, tu temete de vreme ce suntem temete cu tenete la SNC. Dacă vorbim de rap, noi suntem APC, dar nu cerca și tu că faci un AVC.
Because there ain't one of you that he's going to look on, not one. You're lying about his creation, you're leading his creation into the grave, all the while telling him complete garbage and hokum, telling him to be afraid every 5 minutes.
Fă ce vrea penisul tău, dacă stai fixul tău, dar știi că nu doar că dai viață, tu ești viață. Nu doar emiți vibrație, ești vibrația.
And will my people perish for lack of knowledge, especially when the knowledge is denied from them at the very pulpit they're in the pews they're sitting in.
Ooh, my people perish for lack of knowledge.
Tu vezi numere, eu văd cifre, știi ce zic? Nu știi nimic.
Hosea, oh man, especially when that knowledge is denied to them from the very pulpit or audience or television channel or scientific journal or blog or Substack or podcast.
Ai prea multe păreri pentru un om cu ochii desculți. Taci morții tăi și ascult. Vezi că-ți pute sufletul și numai după scuze te ascunzi. Pune-te pe treabă, am spus.
Podcasts that they're listening to or reading, which is like 99% of all these publications out here.
Oh yes, baby, m-am haladit. Doar un pic, bine, poate un pic mai mult. Știi ce zic? Din păcate nu sunt smooth, sunt doar slick. Tu vezi numere.
You know, the fifth generation, the acronym for the fifth generation wireless protocol, because fact check, shut down. That was my reality 2021, 2022, and I was speaking about it. Oh, but it's fine to talk about it now.
Mai bine cât în basme decât în măscărici. Mai bine cât în gangster decât în mămălici ca tine. Deși ești ars de la cap la coadă, n-ai nicio reacție ca motoarele până la coandă.
A zis că și pe el îl cam strângea lesa, s-a strâmbat din nas când a ascultat piesa.
Why? Because everybody done shot the upgrade in them, you know, for grandma's sake and everything. And now that Fauci is pardoned and ain't nobody gonna do a gosh darn thing about it.
Combinația dintre Nastrati, Hocea și Kojak. Da, ăla care și-a sacrificat vocea ca să-ți arate că te-a sacrificat Rocel, scuipând cu furie împotriva mașinăriei ca de la Rocea.
Now something must be done about vengeance of edge in a gun. Some rip the mind, rip the stage, rip the system. I was born to rage against them. Now action must be taken. We don't need the key, we'll break it. I've got no patience now. Sick and complacent now. Time has come to
They deal in problem, reaction, solution, and the reaction is so tech managed, and the doing 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 solution is basically biotech. I mean, the name of the company is called BioNTech. I can't just help but call a spade a spade. You want people to be afraid, and I don't. So I know I have a lot of people that come to me like, Chris, this is kind of scary, bro. What do I do? I understand it's scary. I'm not trying to get you to be...
Nu te ajută nicio informație, niciun studiu pentru reacție la fel de târziu precum Claudiu.
Irrational over it. I'm simply trying to illustrate that it's not my aim to scare you. I don't come at you with no like...
Ăștia au permis conștient un ritual demonic. Ne-au atacat ecologic, ne-au ruinat economic și spiritual istoric. Ne-au deformat metodic, ne-au devorat masonii, ne-ar fi reformat canonic.
Warning, guess what's gonna happen? It's gonna be crazy. There's a biofield and there's nothing you can do about it. I don't say that. I come at it with...
Mi se pare că se întrec în cine are numele unui demon mai mișto sau o chestie de genul. Dar nu cred că știți, oameni, băi, voi nu știți cu ce vă futeți cu aia. Nu cred că înțelegeți ce invocați și ce aduceți asupra voastră, gen, și asupra familiilor voastre, și asupra prietenilor voștri. Nu zic că știu eu, în esență, tot, știi?
The understanding, like, listen, people are smart. Y'all just don't know what y'all don't know. And I didn't know what I didn't know, okay? So I learned a couple things, and now I'm trying to help share a couple things, because the person I learned it from is a bit technical.
Nu înțelegeau, erau cu toții ostatici. În cușca mea e Wi-Fi, teritoriu dacic. Destinul cărui om nu e tragic.
Well, I'm not an EV, Sabrina. Well, you are now. You're full of biosensors and Lord knows whatever else, especially if you took the... Because the is a bio-cyber interface to rearrange your cells.
Uită-te la mine, în morții tăi vorbesc de chestii reale. Cum e acceptarea neputinței tale dacă n-ai de gând să o încaleci.
I'm pretty sure she didn't stutter. Did y'all hear that?
Omida crescută între gândace convinsă că-i doar un vierme. Gândacul poate să convingă păsări care pene.
The doink, doink, doink was a bio-cyber interface.
Poate tu n-ai chef să gândești, însă eu n-am cum. Frate miu, nu te potrivești. Mi-au zis mai de mult, mi-au zis poate mai trebuie să și zâmbești. Am zis hai la...
To rearrange your cells. We can keep pretending like that's impossible.
Vreți boii să mâne turmele de oi, nu păstorii ce le-ar ghida pe drumul lor înapoi, ok?
No, it's not. It's possible. It's been possible. They got patents and paperwork on it. It's been the warfare strategy for 20, 30 years now.
Ești un erou european, un cetățean civilizat sau șobolan domesticit, supravegheat de stat de stat. Dacă privim atent, ești evident un număr fără nume. Poți să spui ce vrei atâta timp cât faci ce ți se spune.
I'm sensing a space and alien theme here, but I don't know. That's not real. That's conspiracy theory.
Atenție la ochi și alunecări freudiene. Corpul comunică, lasă semne pe semne dacă ai sta atent la ele. Ca egiptenii la stele, n-ai lăsat lângă castelul tău troian și nici troiene.
That's what y'all be talking about. Because that's not what I be talking about. That's what y'all be talking about. Propaganda at its finest. But the problem is your kid is also hearing the same propaganda, but it's not on television. It's in the classroom.
Știu că ne doriți pe toți idioți, mintea și-o travă în simbiot. În tabăra mea rămâne uman, e și antidot și antibiotic.
Niciodată n-am pus botul la propagandă. Când mă vezi cu masca pe față, sună la gardă. Până garda-ți sună la poartă, să te pună la plată. Și până la data de o să fii gata, bre.
Plus celelalte teorii să mor eu. Nu știu ce să zic, bro.
High schools and colleges all around the world.
Throughout history, humans have found innovative ways to make their world a better place. Innovation begins with synthetic biology.
Okay, class. Synthetic biology is where scientists can modify an organism, such as yeast or bacteria, and allow them to gain...
Având în vedere că s-a distrus învățământul, mă succes. Mai bine vezi să muncești pământul. Dacă ai fost ajutat, ajută la rânduți. Nu deveni robot nici dacă te programezi tu însuți. Nu face treabă scârbă, nu duce munți în cârcă. Rămâi demn și corect, spor la muncă. Numai faptele atârnă până la urmă.
Computerized stimuli affecting you in your physical space, but you don't know how to actually place it anywhere.
Ies afară printre cowboy isterici, actualizați periodic de un software amnezic.
I'm trying to tell y'all, this is why I'm trying to come to y'all with dignity, poise, and make a little bit of noise.
Mă face să-mi pun întrebări, însă răspunsul mi-e dat. Omul jumate, el jumate păcat. Se întoarce roata, soldat.
Because I need y'all to understand, we're further into this game than they would have us believe.
Mă simt binecuvântat și protejat. Simt că am mai trăit astea odată. Simt că fac exact ce trebuie să fac și fac ce-mi stă în putere ca să o duc la capăt fără diavol.
A lot of y'all be hearing high-pitched noises. A lot of y'all be feeling like something's off in the air.
This is the loudest sound you could possibly conceive, and as it turns out, the cleanest. That cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain. I told you. It's raining. NASA's playing God. It's making its own weather.
They're rolling around like they're in the old Batman 1989 film that they all got gassed with laughing gas. Because the stuff they say that people believe is incredible. But for anybody out there that doesn't know, your government has been experimenting with weather modification and weather control going back to even John F. Kennedy talking about how they were going to control the weather and Lyndon B. Johnson controlling the weather, and even how NASA has this giant cloud machine that they pump clouds out into the sky and then make it rain, but you're not supposed to believe that that's weather modification. That's just a ride at Disney World, apparently. Or Project Cyrus from 1947. I mean, the list goes on and on. The CIA admitting to geoengineering and weather modification. You can just listen for yourself and you decide if there could be something to what I'm saying.
We shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control.
So I wanted to learn, how does this Internet of Bodies really work, and what is this whole biofield all about? And what I learned is that the human electrical experience is very interconnected by default.
Bitch, please, I'm a fuck up. Mai greșim până reușim, dar rămân the shit, motherfucker. Legit, motherfucker, nu-s chill, legit, motherfucker. Sare trenul de pășine, trec în depășire, că sunt o mașină, motherfucker.
I've jumped out of the category of thinking, bioweapon, they're trying to kill everybody. I think they could do that way easy, and they've been able to do that. I think what they're trying to do is siphon everybody's life force energy.
Mă repet cu riscul de a fi acuzat direct de lipsă de idei, dar am observat că dacă spun doar o dată egal cu zero. Să mă certe Dumnezeu sau cartierul, atât permit, sau poate că o gândesc prea mult.
Both financially, legally, with your job, through optogenetics, through the food, through your entertainment, through the social media, all of it. And this siphoning of life force energy is very calculated and very deconstructible. But it's going to require that people of different expertise drop their ego about what they think they know about their industry.
Află că tot ce-mi doresc e să te apere Dumnezeu de tot ce va veni din spate, bro. Aceeași tabără sau nu tot același sânge, mai uită-te și în jurul tău.
In any industry. So I could pull that wheel up again, but from the pharmaceutical, I mean, the doctors got the run of it through the last pandemic, but a lot of my engineers and radio frequency specialists and people who know about electromagnetism, this is they're up to bat next. Their ego's up to bat next. And a lot of that is other, well, we're in the medical field and we know, we have the beat on what's going on. Unless y'all don't, unless there's some technology going on in the background that you ain't never heard come round your awareness.
7 continente dependente de lovea și n-ajung niciodată, chiar dacă se printează bani. Eu unul nu știu.
Paying for your ability to breathe.
Oh, hold on. Let's gonna rewind it a bit.
Or synthetic. And what are they getting rid of? You're paying for your ability to breathe. Carbon credits. And they're not getting rid of that. They're going forward. They're building data centers. Who is Trump?
Ca sport, dar până atunci să țineți cont ce s-a întâmplat cu Travis Scott. Nu e întâmplător, mie nu îmi pare de fapt. Știind ca fapt că în esență un concert e un ritual.
They're building data centers. Who is? Your boy, Donald Trump. Now this was said, she said this before the big announcement just yesterday or whatever about with Larry Ellison and the other two gentlemen. So some of us already knew the data centers was being built. A lot of y'all probably didn't, but that's okay. That's not the point. The point is, he building some data centers. Okay?
Am zis păstrează 2 metri distanță. Procus face patul în timp ce poartă mască în casă. Îi se șoptește în cască.
Still don't get it. They needed you to stay 6 feet apart and sit in your kill box to finish their digital twin databases for this right here. When your microwave and radio frequency engineers saw your COVID pain turn into salary and bonus gains, when the MIT student said, oh, it's like there's an arms race for these equations for body area networks and visible light communication. That's right.
Om mândru de gândul că stă în turmă și e safe, dar te conformezi și ești fake.
I have complete love for anybody who's voted or who's participated in the voting system. I understand it's been rigged since 1871 and beyond. That's pushing 154 years now. Since 1871, your vote has not mattered, period. All right?
Ești sigur pe tine și chiar crezi că contezi. Când ajungi să vezi ce trebuie să vezi, te izolezi.
But I got love for you. It don't matter. I just need you to come on up to speed with the rest of us and listen to what Ms. Wallace is explaining based on her expertise and a handful of others who have kind of helped spearhead the collection of this work about where we really are in the grand scheme of things as far as time and technology is concerned.
Dictatorii sunt geloși pe zeloți, au pus reforma pe foc, au pus record pe robot. Jucătorii sunt matol de la Roma, au dar ateu de la bol confecționate de hoți.
June 24th, 2024. It's always for the paraplegics, folks. That's never going to change.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we only do it to help people. Well, you got a shitty track record then, because we've got more disabled people now than ever before. Good job.
Lasă vrăjeala și ascultă, cântă aur un gunoi. E o țară de căcat pentru că țara suntem noi. Guvernul e la karaoke, dracu e la păcănele.
Toți or s-o vadă, poate scoși o dovadă. Măcar să fii și tu un sifon omologat, mă. Vezi, degeaba ești isteț, primești dispreț când ai obrazul gros ca șoriciu de mistreț.
Multi-vector, multi-entry point attack systems, light-based assault, biofield-based assault, radio frequency-based assault, microwave-based assault. Then you got the topicals, the wearables, all the different assaults. Then you got the food and the food and drug and the EPA. You see what I'm saying?
Nanomedicine via sans exodus and brain organoid maps.
Right. A bunch of words y'all never heard. Why? Because some people are actually going through and doing the homework on how this works. And some of y'all just listening to Trump.
Crede că e liber. Bunuri produse nasc noi necesități și luminițele i-au cucerit pe netărăi. Un algoritm biochimic dictat de robot. Acum nici tu n-ai reușit să fii om bun cu toți.
These are jobs. You're telling people it's aliens. Now what could be more disrespectful? The constellation explanations. Every time your people lied to you, I was here with non-vaxxer to try to help set it right.
Sfârșim triști după o viață în care am încercat să devenim nemuritori. Când se ridică imperii, se nasc minorități.
You telling everybody it's jobs rather, and y'all telling people it's aliens. It's like people going log in, locate, okay, boop, and change out this, and it's not people. It's mostly AI and machine learning systems, but individuals can override the AI for a second and literally wirelessly fly through your whole duodenum like a magic school bus ride.
Cine se uită la cine? Tu la YouTube sau YouTube la tine?
Okay. Never mind, we control basically the sky and everything you see in it, and the weather, and you. Never mind. It's an alien mothership. That's probably what it is. You see what I'm saying? There's so much scapegoating going to that and away from the technology.
Pun capul pe pernă, poltergeist polițienesc. Tu de partea cui ești? Ce credeai că o să se întâmple? Mai multe, mai multe, mai rele, mai tâmpe. Am luat eu prea personal, rateu colectiv sau confortul e morbid și nici măcar nu știi ce zic.
Now, a lot of y'all are just catching on to the idea that 5G wireless might have had something else going on other than just giving you faster internet.
Vor să mă moare ca pe Moise, daci cu gâte șarpe, șerp cu cap de morsă. Știi ce? Prefer să dau pentru mine, să n-am timp pentru nimeni, în niciun caz pentru tine. Știi ce? Lasă-i pe ei să facă beat-uri, confundau senpaiul cu ciorditul. Verificăm titlul, e super, e ok computer. Sunt campion la asta de când tu mergeai pe burtă, conjurat de hot și de tufele din turmă. Toți tot roboți, tot cu mufele lor strâmbe. Tot îmi pare un troc inutil, de-aia prefer să beau vodka ca un porc ipocrit.
Okay. 6G, 7G, and beyond, pretty far up the gigahertz spectrum and on up into the terahertz spectrum. Also, it happens to work great in a mesh network because the signals don't overlap. The 2.4 radio frequency, that's saturated. Every baby monitor and Fitbit and Wi-Fi and Talkboy and your walkie-talkies from when you was a kid, all of that's 2.4 gigahertz in the general range, including Wi-Fi. But get up into them gigahertz and them terahertz, and there ain't much going on up there. And that's because it was being reserved for the myriad of data touch points that would be coalescing in this internet of bodies. So I see a couple questions.
O remarcă doar, mă doare în pulă că nu faci diferența între simbol și creatură. Adică șarpele, mâncame șarpele cu singur ochi.
O să pierzi dacă mergi în umbra a zeci de umbre ce auzești, deci menuri la activ. Vieții dumnezești pe urmă mă seci că urmărești zeci de fraieri de mult timp. După care te frustrezi, frățioare, demonstrezi frățioare, făcând cel mai mare vagin. Poate te rănește oare că ai pierdut o mare comoară de om fin. Capitan.
În timpuri pe care nu puteam să mi le închipui, din vremuri care mă fac să mă cutremur. Mă uit la oameni, sunt triști, despinați.
When you engage with their system for life extension technology, that is your hell. It's like that Black Mirror episode San Junipero. Y'all remember the one?
You know, when he was dying, Rich said to me when they offered him this to pass through, spend eternity in this fucking graveyard you're so in love with, he said, how can I? When she missed out, how can I?
Yeah, it's that. It's literally that. I'm telling you, Black Mirror was showing it to you at the time. That was like 7 years ago.
Ne vedem, evident, dacă sunt zen, altfel nu. Ne vedem, evident, am eu vreo treabă? Nu, bro.
This man don't know nothing about what he don't know about. He's so far behind the starting line with it. And I don't even think in his case he's gatekeeping. I think they just keep him that egotistical and uninformed so that they don't have to actually be in on the lie. They can just be totally not that informed and helping all the rest of y'all uninformed basic people walk right off a cliff with his uninformed beanie wearing all the time having ass. And none of y'all know the difference.
Lori n-a vrut să gătească sos, dar n-a putut să gătească roși. Asta e metaforă, nu fiți proști, mă simt ca Uzi.
And what she's talking about and what, you know, Trump and Ellen, you know, it's all, nobody knows. And it's because y'all looking to too many other people to teach y'all. This lady points you straight to tech metrics, PDFs, you know, white papers.
Taică mi-a fost prieten cu Tupac, cred că au mers la școală, dar n-au mers la școală, că chiuleau și stăteau pe afară, ok? Taci că lucrezi, taică mi-l bate pe taică tu vezi, nici nu mai sunt necesare dovezi, oricum ar fi, tu o să pierzi.
And it's up to you to then go and like, okay.
Și teoria singularității am mai zis de ea.
Nu cunosc așa de multe teorii.
Atingerea nemuririi prin tehnologie.
Da, exact, da, tot un fel de rai artificial ce au încercat și comuniștii și naziștii și toată lumea a încercat să facă un...
The life extension technology is not for everyone. Do they really want us around forever? Us? No. Them? Yes. It was Aristotle and Socrates and Plato and them talking about natural selection and creating the perfect race. You know, it's gone through different cultures and individuals over the years. But this idea of the master race or the perfect race that later folded into a study called Eugenics.
Because they're afraid of dying. So this is transhumanism. It's called Transhumanism, the Future of Humanity. It's 7 ways the world will change by 2030.
Because they're going to turn off that radio frequency. They don't need the 5G. They already have the metamaterials and the biofield analysis concurrence to do it.
Trăiesc din combinații, expert genetician ce combinații. Neputincios privesc cum mi se transformă în zombie frații, cu bucățile de crom pirații, bagă în alții plasmărații.
That's really very, very important that somebody will send all the wrong information and it can create a zombie, right? All the device inside can malfunction, right?
Două voci la mine în cap, una-mi zice să mă culc, alta-mi zice să stau treaz, înconjurat de zombies, nu știu ce să fac. Fericirea lor e gri, la fel ca albul de spital. Tu în cine crezi, nu-ți văde cu sonul, aurel dădea doar ambii scrise cu creionul. Șifonat sus la mansardă e praf, patra înghețat de mult în acest cuib de tâlhar.
Metaforă, peste capul tău am dat, te-ai bucurat, ai crezut că am plecat.
That's an open issue, and hopefully, people will behave nicely, but that's not the case, unfortunately. You're right.
Meanwhile, they're logging in under people's skin and wirelessly rolling out a war. I've heard it coined, somebody called it an omni-war. I think that's a very appropriate term. Multifaceted, all scalar, all encompassing, several vector war that most folks just don't even care to understand, because it's like, Chris, that's just too much.
Nu știu ce să fac, nu știu ce să fac.
You're in war right now. I can't, but I got an appointment and I got a thing and
Robosapiens, ne căutăm frații, luăm pe-ai tăi, tu iei pe alții. Uite, nou set de reguli, omoară reflexul impus până nu s-a produs evidentul. Îți dorești un laptop, fiind sceptic, cum am respirat fără curent electric.
But you're in war though, right now, right now.
Mimează șarmul la Santi și calmul lui Cati, dar demonstrează hartul lui Barbie și capul lui Bambi. Bă, oligofrenule, trebuie să-ți testezi terenul.
I'll just wait on Jesus to come take me out of what, war? The war that he literally never took Israel out of?
Văd moluri cu marfă pline prin magazine și de prin vitrine îmi zâmbesc manechine. Văd biserici cu Iisuși proiectați din pronaos, unde clopotele bat doar la fix fără repaus. Văd fructele din piatră din statuia unui pom, dar nimeni să le culeagă, nu mai văd niciun om.
O să încerc să citesc viitorul în globul ăsta al meu, ca să văd o să fie mai ușor sau dacă o să duce mai greu. Dar pentru un moment întreaga lume o să mă creadă nebun, până când o să se întâmple exact ce spun, că imaginile încep să-mi apare din ce în ce mai clar în globul ăsta de cristal.
So now you about to go in. Now your president's gonna go help in that war.
Am auzit că nu știu ce, că nu știu cum.
Vezi de treabă, vezi de treabă.
Am auzit că ați găsit un președinte mai bun.
Vezi de treabă, vezi de treabă. Ești nebun, dai semne, vorbești baliverne. Ți-ai borât în suflet și te-ai umflat în pene.
Am auzit că e ciudat că nu înțelegi ce spun.
Vezi de treabă, vezi de treabă.
Am auzit că ai auzit, dar tu n-asculți oricum.
Vezi de treabă, vezi de treabă.
Hereby confirm membership upon President Biden in recognition of his outstanding service to the U.S. Be it further resolved that this resolution of membership be recorded in the archives of the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of free and accepted Masons of the state of South Carolina, given this 19th day of January AD 2025. So this is just confirmation, again, of treason. Normally, these Freemasons never expose themselves, but sometimes you might get one of these, prickly old men who get confrontational.
Say that again. Lucifer is a pure, holy, virtuous. Now, is he the Lucifer that God created?
That's the same one.
Oh man, this is great. I'm going to put this on the internet.
Oh, amen. God bless you, amen. Brother.
Because that's exactly what the Shriners and Masons teach, is that Lucifer is light.
No, because I've just been too busy. I've been working to help people.
What like kind of work? Okay.
Get out of here.
See, this is what a Mason confesses, is that Lucifer is light.
So again, when I bring up being a Christian, and I know people out there, some don't agree, because some people kind of have always been stuck in a vacuum of, well, the Vatican and the Pope is corrupt. They've hijacked Christianity. They use it as a front.
Sound good? Great. So when the world asks, what is NEOM? You'll know to answer that NEOM's a place that'll change the way we live on this planet. simple, really.
So you gotta love how they hold that 666 logo up right at the end, right? A-OK, right? A lot of X symbolism in there as well for the Antichrist and the mark of the beast. But
Aproape ireal, ce panoplie de arme sonici, controlul triunghi echilateral, semne masonice. N-am timp și n-am schimb că sunic.
The Antichrist that we see out there that nobody ever notices, right? All these celebrities posing on magazine covers just like they do, with one hand over their eye. They fold their arms across their chest, making an X symbol. So Elon Musk renames this platform, which is going to be the collective consciousness according to his own mouth, or its own mouth. He is giving the logo for Grok over to Saturn, right? And Saturn is the secret god of the occult. We see Saturn worship all around us, all the time. So while Donald Trump and Elon Musk are pretending to be your friends, while the alt-right media are pretending that they're exposing the deep state, they're really actually revealing themselves as worshipers of Satan, Saturnalia, Saturn Moon Matrix, the Black Cube. This is constant symbolism that is around us. The Star of David is another symbol that people don't seem to interpret correctly. The Star of Moloch or Remphan, the Seal of Solomon, which is the star of Saturn. It represents Satan. And all the occultists out there know this.
Yo, mi-a dat $1 paranormal cu piramidă, Babilon se miramidă și magită. Mi-a spus te țin în vogă ca moga, tu doar fă-ți prova. Eu te-am programat să fii celebru și bogat. Când l-am văzut am rămas fără cuvinte. Avea coarne, coadă lungă, riba scoasă și copite.
One of the scenes in Oppenheimer, right on the table, as you could see, this same map, a similar variation, is featured in the Club of Rome. It is called the Regionalized Adaptive Model for the Global World System. Metropolis, you look at those films, you say, how did they know then that that's what the world would look like 100 years from now? Because they had the tech. It was about brainwashing you into the tech, getting you familiar with the tech, getting you to accept the tech, not to push back on the tech, not to look at the tech as witchcraft. So all of these psychological operations that they've unleashed on the public over the last 100 years, which includes dismissing the notion of Satan existing and witches existing, right? And then normalizing it with Disney, with Harry Potter, all this other stuff, getting people to say, oh yeah, witchcraft, bring it into my home, but that's not real witchcraft, right? They've desensitized people to all this stuff, and now they think it's all tech, that it's all smart scientists coming up with this stuff, and people like us are lunatics.
As the scientist who discovered that the human brain can survive bodily destruction.
Thanks to Dr. Patrick Corey, the brain will live, thrive, and continue to grow far beyond the body. It is already able to exist in any body, anywhere it will.
Submit to the brain's satanic vibrations of evil.
It's orange soda in my mouth.
What the F?
You put it in my mouth.
What the F?
How did you get it in my mouth?
Please stop, you demon. You're a demon.
What the hell?
Please stop.
So this is obviously technology that's been around. Metropolis has the same types of themes in it with rebuilding of the Tower of Babel through technology, right? That's what this is. AI governance, the rebuilding of the Tower of Babel, but changing what a human being is, changing their genetics and being able to do things like create digital twins. And now, not only do we have the world's first computer that's running on living human brain cells, but you could buy it, right? Right. Well, when you give people this type of technology and you can't comprehend what it's capable of doing, like not just the mixing of iron and clay, like cloning, like actually creating digital twins and things like that. People need to wake up. And I said this before because people say, well, what do we do about it? Well, we have to push back on the tech. Not tomorrow, not today, yesterday. That's when we should have been pushing back on this. But the problem is that people are addicted to it. You'll hear the news media talk about addiction, drinking, drugs, cigarettes, all this other stuff. You never hear them talk about technology and the phone. They tell you that it's normal, and if you don't adapt to the things that they're pushing, like getting on your phone, doing everything digitally, that you're weird, or you're just so dumb you can't understand how to do it, right? That's the brainwashing they've done.
Eu mi-a zis mama Omida că o să te pup cu cărămida. O să sparg un mason, ochiul stâng și piramida. Nu mă intimida, poți să încerci. Scriu gloanțele ca mitra. Era te fateri și poți să alegi să te ascunzi sau să alergi. Trebuie să înveți să te târăști ca să mergi ca un vierme de la zer și parca mecea. Zești de suporteri din Mahala, că am studiat Kabbalah.
So, you know, you say the word Kabbalah and it has drip to it. Some people either find that drip enticing and alluring and, you know, a hidden mystery that should be sought out. Others find that drip quite satanically infused. I happen to be in the latter category.
Mi-am crescut cu migala, amigdala. Fac școala cu șamanii și cu Vișnu în șambala. Am boala, s-umplu coala cu ce secretă pineala. Până zbor din favela în Valhalla. Roagă-te la Jehova și la Allah să vină salvatorul de le fiul lui Amidala. Am Alam, Bicadexul, Salvator Dali în versuri. E Nikola Tesla, texte-i destul. Da, Mic check 2015.
Să spună, da, domnule, te tolerezi, din numele toleranței tu poți să cânti, să împrostești tinerii, lumea să... eu te tolerez, gen, știi? Sau
problema este că...
Știi cum e, player? Nici măcar nu am chef de discuția asta. Oricum România ai pus trandafirul și odihnește-te în pace. Îmi fac eu dușman, mă doare în pulă de cântați din partea aia să cânte. Oricum cântă toată lumea ce vrea. Oricum s-a ajuns la un nivel demonic de existența contemporanului în care, adică vorbesc, oricum, din punct de vedere al creștinismului, noi suntem ființe căzute care avem mai multă părtășie cu răul decât cu binele. Și din studiul realității. Așa este. E o lume diabolică în care trăim, știi? Se vede chestia asta.
Ca oamenii vorbim multe lucruri, dar prea puțin știu și scriu din adâncuri. Marea majoritate doarme și în cosmos se întâmplă multe ștouri și efectul e monstruos.
Visul mutației biologice mă bântuie. Destinul e descris în zește de scântece mi se destăinuie. Desprins din istorie, rescris de știință, intuit de alchimie, progresând prin suferință. Iuba care ne cuprinde pe toți, râd dacă pot.
Ce-ai studiat în cărți, nu e adevărat. Gravitația, timpul și spațiu, nu e egal cu MC pătrat, min populația. De mii de ani încoace, conspirații secrete, dar al șaselea timp, al treilea om povede.
In that particular group rely quite heavily on the Kabbalah to make sense of their application, we'll say. This is where, you know, people are going to have to agree to disagree. I don't personally trust the Kabbalah. I don't trust people who trust the Kabbalah. I don't trust that the Jewish mystical or any sort of mysticism is required to make sense of what Jesus tells us should be something simple that a child could understand.
Fan pe capitan interstelar, călare pun car mare ca un gelecat. Carul mare gelecat, te-ai prins băgat, ți-aș pula ta de subnutrit mental.
And so we see in this particular hieroglyph, this person that's in the right-hand side of this craft, he is actually, I don't know if you guys recognize this from the previous episode, part 2, he's actually holding a Vajra. So just straight up in his hand, he's got a Vajra. Remember what we talked about when we reviewed the Vajras in part 2, and how they were considered to be able to control the weather or control flying machines.
Am înțeles că fiecare are dreptul și stângul să meargă unde îl pot duce picioarele și capul, sceptrul și gândul.
Se forma fiind rezultatul direct al unei frecvențe. La fel și cea umană, Creație tridimensională, materie, spirit, inconștient, transcendentală. La bază 5 forme, fiecare sacră și anume foc, pământ, aer, spirit și apă. Respectiv tetraedrul, cubul, octaedrul, dodecaedrul și icosaedrul. Forme platonice pe unde fonice văd viitorul, perfect, fără defect, catorul. Un cerc în centru, 6 se învârt în jurul lui. Harta celor 7 culori, geneza omului. A treia strofă, cine o să o înțeleagă, a folosit 2 părți din creier, geometrie sacră. Lasă stelele, planetele să...
But in ancient times, this was an ancient, look at this, guys. Just look at this for a minute, okay? Here's an ancient depiction of people in India looking up in the sky at a whole bunch of people in what looks like a boat in the sky flying through the air. But certainly, and you're right, craft, they just question a lot of people ask is, what is powering these crafts? And this is why I had this quote earlier from ancient texts from ancient India, from that same doctor that I quoted, where he talks about how the beam of flew with his vimana on an enormous ray, which was as brilliant as the sun and made noise like the thunder of a storm. Well, there's a reason for that. And many people believe it was because of cinnabar. So cinnabar is an actual mineral that's extremely dangerous. It's mined in multiple places around the world. And cinnabar is a mercury sulfide. So some of the ancient texts from ancient India, I didn't have time to put them all on screen tonight, guys, but it actually talks about how they would power these crafts with mercury and quicksilver. Quicksilver is also a word for mercury. And also sometimes they would mention honey, which I don't know how they used it. I don't know how that works, but that's crazy.
Now, like I mentioned with Paul, there's no such thing as a good deception without a ton of truth laced in. So I'm not sitting there saying that every premise that's Kabbalistic in origin is wrong. I'm simply saying I don't put any weight to anything based in the Kabbalah. And the second people want to come at me and tell me, hey, Jesus was actually a Kabbalistic mystic, I shut you off. Because I don't think you're a mean person necessarily. I just simply think your discernment meter is not where mine is.
Pozați un creștin mai bun decât Sfântul Petru. Sunteți ipocriți, mânca mea spula până rămâne de 1 metru.
I have been, this has been presented to me years ago as something favorable and something worth looking into. And I have done that a little bit, but enough to know that I'm not investing a tremendous amount of time into what clearly is the curriculum of the beast. Now, people will say, well, hold on now, that's just the Hollywood version. That's not the other version. And that's just simply interpretation. That's just personal opinion.
Să trăiești mult de dragul de a trăi, să ai familie, să torni MG-guri de copii, să nu fumezi, să nu bei droguri, să nu iei, să n-ai păreri sau idei, să nu-ți dorești, să nu vrei, să fii bun, să ai o conduită înaltă, așteptând vacanța de pe lumea elaltă. O arzi în halul ăsta, ești o victimă îndoctrinată.
I don't trust it. I don't need it. I don't look at it. don't like it. I find that it confuses people. I think that people who study the Kabbalah are way more book smart. Every single person I've ever heard talk favorably about the Kabbalah always comes up to me as book smart, but not street smart. Meaning, you read a lot of books, and yeah, you know some things, but boy, is your discernment on empty, bro. Like,
trag în piept aerul jegos de București, finalizez rulezul cui și te las să te gândești.
Schimb de vicii, nimic anormal, caut în continuu o ieșire din banal. Nu posed, la imaginație porți, fără vicii, am fi doar niște roboți.
Because I've worked in and around the Hollywood elites. As far as I know, I'm the only one who knows most of the Hollywood people I know. And what I know more than anything is that what some of the big boys are into is way above pay grades of me and you. Meaning they don't, like, the Hollywood version is not the cheap fringe version of Kabbalah, if you will. It is most likely the core or an extrapolation of the core of that belief structure.
Ca să o zic pe șleau, când l-au ginit pe șeau, ei cu șleachta lor, toți brațe încrucișau. Pentru diavol avocat, dar n-am plecat cu dreptul, că la dogme de 2 lei din start nu s-a dreptul. Rup sceptru, ar tronul, sacrific supuși, nu-mi trebuie coroana sau să-mi deschizi uși. Nu caut validare, n-o să dau la pace. Le-am zis karma se întoarce, o să vă dea capace.
All the stuff, all the texts, all the thought process, the schools of thought that come from the top down, especially ones as powerfully applicable as the Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism today. That's not how this works. The purity comes from God individually working through the hearts of men from the ground up, influencing heads of state, influencing movements. The top down is where all the corruption and the deception is. So
Fuck your crucifix, your religion and its uselessness. Your propaganda is more wickeder than Lucifer's. Islamic scientists predicted the computer chip. I spit a rap at you to rock you like Medusa's lip. These fucking dooms are sick, and y'all can see that. And y'all are my sons like Ibrahim and Ishak. So let's take a walk through the Travis town. I'm the divine science of the light and the sound. I'm the sublime giant with a right to the crown. I'm the divine tyrant and I'm striking you down. So I teach my kin to attack the beast for trying to hide me from the fourth book of Maccabees. You whack MCs, catch a hook to the head, cause y'all don't know about the Tibetan Book of the Dead. You don't know about anything that's important, about the Dead Sea Scrolls found in Jordan, about the way that you conduct yourself in Satan's wrath. But I don't fuck with you, you walking down the pagan's path.
And, you know, people are like, well, that's not a Christian thing to say or do. Oh, no? Well, these are the same people, once you've given them something, they want more. Have you noticed these people? Everyone said, let them get married. Now what do they want to do? Well, they want to marry your kid. They want to come into your house and teach your kid that he should cut off his penis. Okay? They're psychopaths. So you could continue to allow that to happen. I'm not interested in ending up on a true crime by letting these people into my home and then being like, oops, I was stupid. I tried to be Christian-like and nice and let them into my home. And when I woke up, they killed my wife and my kids. Oh, great. It's your fault then.
Imaginează-ți că te trezești seara cu un șarpe sub cerșean. După ce ai învârtit micul glob, amântesc cu degetul inelar pe Damas. Caută un film cu De Niro și Fond, a văzut pe 24 la Tel Aviv. Nu-i vina lui Marx, e propagare totalitară în stil porcolonialist. De câțiva ani în plus sau minus, ca veșnicia creștină. Sunt un zeu cu chip de copil ca viși. Nu mă piși pe titlu rău, sunt de vină închis în pivniță, mă torc dinții. Îmi vine să-i scot santinela cu sub aia de vin un rege mustăcios. Ca pe cărțile de joc, știi care e diferența? Nu-i durerea fizică, e harapa pura din minte. Am învățat araba, dar am uitat o lună de zile căutând un cont de lumină și acum.
Casualties of war. That's not how war works, right? And what happened? Oh, none of the civilians are armed to protect themselves. How convenient, right? Just what they keep trying to do here in America. Liberals, who are the real problem in this country, are Democrats. They are. The liberal mindset is the problem. They're the poison. But they're going to be steamrolled by these people. And they're going to expect people like us, they're going to want our food and want us to protect them. And they're the ones responsible. So they're not going to get any help or protection from any of us.
So I just don't find the need to give the Kabbalah any lip service or any time, because that's what Satan and them do. That's what the synagogue of Satan does, is they base their entire moving and shaking off the numerology and the energetic framework established by the Kabbalah. So
M-am uitat pe navă, nu Erasmus și am citit Shogun. În jurul meu apă, toți se întreabă dacă schimb jocul și cum. Resus citând.
Și începe potopul, la pulime nu prinde hip-hopul, dar se prinde ca prind eu focul. Să-i sufoc ușor, n-au ei norocul. Povești cu pletoși că se complică, că nu le cred, le știi de frică, că te-au programat de mic să pui botul la SF, ai va să zică coșmarul cu Dumnezeu. Încep să cred că vi s-au urât cu binele. Hai, adu-i pe cei mai buni, jur cal pe vârfuri ca balerinele, că totul-i pe bune tinere. Mor să dai țeapă ca albinele, nu merită să-mi tocesc minele. Abține-te, ia creioanele, ține-le. De 20 de ani am început și în interval n-am fost pe val, dar am evoluat de la Sapiens la Homo Deus, l-am inspirat pe Yuval.
We humans should get used to the idea that we are no longer mysterious souls. We are now hackable animals. The really big thing is hacking human beings. To hack human beings, you need a lot of biological knowledge, a lot of computing power, and especially a lot of data.
Că dacă le cer lor, primești o sulă în coastă și teoria conspirației devine o glumă proastă. Uită de soluții, rezoluții și de restul, că nu se iasă revoluții cu discuții pe Facebook.
So I wanted to point this out, right? Somebody who thinks that they're conspiracy realists. We've heard this become a common theme, right? We hear these people who say, well, the conspiracies are now truth, right? But these people are actually in the conspiracy because they believe in the left-right paradigm. So they have little tastes of truth, but they're nowhere near actually being awake. And these are the things that they say. God sent me President Trump, quoting RFK.
I've noticed that pattern. It's like, y'all just hear a thing that sounds like right, and you have a niche of people that vouch for a particular body of text or school of thought. They focus so heavy on death, the death of Jesus, death, his blood sacrifice, blood atoning, his finished work on the cross, which wasn't a cross, by the way. It was a stake. Let's not get it twisted. The word cross comes into the English. When you look at the Greek, it doesn't say cross, it says stake. Now, whether that looked like a T or it looked like a pole or it looked like a tree, I don't know. I'm just saying we've been given a whole lot of this, and this. So the Christian motif, this cross, this torture device that people wear around their neck as a endearing means to associate themselves with the work of Jesus on this torture device. That's a Roman thing, right? I don't hate people who do it. I used to have cross necklaces. You know, it's not about you. It's not about look why you're wrong. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to say this is what we've learned. And if you want to make some sense about why things don't make sense, why you have the biggest religion on earth where the Messiah says few there be that find it, we're going to explain why and how that is tonight. If you're only ever listening to the people who agree and you never go to anybody who's critically challenging it, you don't quite know what you're dealing with. That's kind of how every good trick works, if you ask me.
Din partea radioactivă a raiului, e momentul critic. Punct de realitate, eu nu mai suport. E momentul critic, eu nu mai suport. Liniștea asta putut. Conectat nu înseamnă corect informat. Nu pot să-mi aduc aminte ce n-am uitat. Sunt demn de evitat, nu pot fi modelat. Suspendat în timp, pretind că m-am schimbat. Trag pe nas aer curat și n-am nimic de fumat. De când spectacolul vieții s-a reprogramat. Oficial s-a constatat că joaca s-a schimbat. Ca să nu muncești degeaba, trebuie să fii bogat.
They don't understand that the digital ID eventually is you. The gene editing that's going to be done, the digital ID is going to be embedded in you like blockchain. And that's what people need to pay attention to. But, you know, they can't wrap their minds around what they're actually doing. So let me show you what life in China looks like. And if this doesn't look like absolute hell on earth, where you might as well be 6 feet under if you're living like this, then I don't know what does.
They're constantly monitored by facial recognition cameras that are able to instantly put a face to a name. Now the Chinese are also ranked, keeping track of everyone's spending habits.
You see the Statue of Liberty, which again is a symbol that I've covered many times. Of course, Freemasons shipped the Statue of Liberty to this country. It has nothing to do with anything anyone out there actually thinks. You might as well just call it the Statue of Lucifer, really.
The state will go over every detail of a person's life with a fine-tooth comb. Their financial situation, spending habits, career, even behavior on social media. Criticizing the government online or displaying outward signs of wealth is a no-no. On the other hand, praising the party or giving blood increases your social credit.
You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over. Free will, that's over.
That's over.
Over. Today, we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale.
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
Bine ai venit în universul meu cu credit limitat. Aici contează cât de lung e scurtul neimpozitat. Viitorul e nesigur, succesul e garantat și tot ce ai învățat în școală este de neaplicat.
It changes you if you take a genetic editing. Just as an example.
Succesul înseamnă să deții nimic, dar să controlezi tot. Libertatea e doar un placebo, dai ce vă place vouă. Blogul sfor din ori și noi doar micile marionete, atente la wall, complet neatente la drum.
The fact that people don't see what's happening here with corporations, all these corporations being on board with this wokeness, and the fact that like 90% of the population is not in on this stuff. They just like want to get a chocolate bar if they want chocolate. They want to get a pair of shoes if they like the pair of shoes or need a new pair of sneakers, etc. But their corporations are the ones who are controlling behavior and manipulating everyone just as much as the celebrities are. But
ce fuți aia crești, ești cum te-ai programat. Dacă te minți frumos, trebuie să zâmbești forțat. Nu trăiești cum îți dorești, că n-ai încercat și îmbarcat pentru Valhalla, mor ca vita în pat.
Faye, beautiful Faye had a wonderful quote. She said, everyone is able to live in public space as their honest, authentic selves. Of course, that doesn't relate to Christians, white Christian males specifically, because Obviously, we know, well, that's not acceptable. Same reason that those same people are not allowed to speak freely on the internet, right?
Luați-o ușor, nu vă grăbiți să mă puneți la zi. Fa să vă cadă în cap guverne, nu se schimbă nimic. Și parcă hoții s-au unit într-un singur partid. Asta nu-i globalizare, fraiere, e genocid. Luați aminte, statul e un fals părinte, reptile cu sânge fierbinte, cu Dumnezeu înainte l-a futut copii și șefui morminte. Nu mă inspir din cărțile sfinte și nu vă fac 10 albume cu 7 cuvinte.
That's ultimately what they're getting at when they talk about AI healthcare, is that AI is inside of you, changing your genetic code and what it means to be a human. This is called under the skin surveillance, and they're not hiding it.
COVID is critical because this is what convinces people to accept, to legitimize total biometric surveillance. If we want to stop this epidemic, we need not just to monitor people, we need to monitor what's happening under their skin.
Am început în viață cu stângul și n-am făcut dreptul. Proștii spun că-s nebun și că fac pe deșteptul. M-am născut cu cel puțin 1000 de ani prea târziu și mă doare fix în pulă tot ce nu vreau să știu.
Together these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States and very quickly, moving very rapidly. New American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States.
De-aia nu numai infractorii, ci și informatorii lor o duc mult mai bine decât agricultorii. Babilonul trăiește, nu-i nimic metaforic. Sistemul-i draconic și strică sistemul valoric.
I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon. Didn't work out.
Am încercări ispite, multe demonii pe bune. Na, așa e el, man, se îmbată, nu știe ce spune. Super.
So they'd hear this, they'd be like, he's saying that Apple's the mark of the beast. I didn't say that Apple was the mark of the beast. I'm saying that these things are revealed to us, they're in front of us. We see the 666 associated with CERN. We see the 666 associated with Google in their logo. We see it associated with Apple. Well, what's the common theme with those? Technology, the creation of the World Wide Web at CERN. And you could see right there in green the North American Union, where the US, Canada, and Greenland are merged as one. In that variation, Mexico is actually a part of the South American Union. And then in technocracy, right? Technocracy and the social design. They have their own map, the Technet of America.
Again, highlighted in the passage, the second beast deceived those who dwell on the earth, telling them to make an image to the first beast that had been wounded by the sword and yet lived. The second beast, that was the Nurgle character, the Anubis, the Hades character, the one that's commonly referred to as, as Hades and in the Bible. He's permitted, he's also Nurgle in the book of Jeremiah. He's permitted to give breath to the image of the first beast. That's that first beast that we've located the actual name of Apollyon, who was Apollo, who was Helios to the Greeks. He was Baal and Molech to the Canaanite clans and the Amorites and the Hittites. He was Osiris to the Egyptians, right? So that the image of Osiris, the image of Apollo, the image of the first beast, it's an idol they've created, guys. It could cause all who refuse to worship it to be killed. If you don't, guys, I don't know if I can make this any more clear. Baal, like the ones, the Israelites in the Bible, all throughout the Bible, kept turning back and going to worship Baal instead of Yahweh, and the transgressed the covenant and got in trouble. And Baal, that's the dude coming back, because it's been the same guy throughout all the nations. He's the king of Babylon, and his right-hand man is coming back with him. It's Hades. So it's Anubis. It's the same hierarchy of administration of evil. The serpent, the first and second beast. In Egypt they call it Ra, Osiris, and Anubis. In Greek, it would be called Zeus, Apollo, and Hades, or sometimes Hermes. It's the same hierarchy in Revelation 13. The dragon gave his power and authority to the first beast, who the second beast rolled in all the authority and power of the first beast, which essentially was given to him from the dragon. It's the same three guys. They're coming back. And some of them never left.
Eu sunt problema, eu sunt și soluții.
These must all be coincidences tied in with Apple. And I'm not saying that if you own an Apple product, you've taken the mark of the beast. And believe me, you might be saying, well, who's saying you're saying that? There's people who listen to my videos and then they hear what they want in their own head. So they'd hear this, they'd be like,
Ești nebun, bă, bă, ești prost, bă, ești nebun, bă, bă, ești prost, ești nebun, bă, ești prost, ești nebun, bă, ești prost, ești nebun, ești nebun, bă.
That's how they tell you and get away with creating this technology, because they tell you it's for your health, right? What they don't tell you is that they're going to be monitoring everything under your skin and everywhere you go and everything you think eventually with this type of tech. In fact, I covered this with all of the stories about these fog explosions that have been happening around the earth right now. They already have smart dust and are already using it, so they don't even have to have you ingest some of this tech. They actually could just drop it on you from the sky. Oh wait, they already are. Here's a look at smart dust.
Every square inch of every city will be alive with intelligence. Every building will have a network of microcomputers built right into them. Smart dust. These all-in-one microcomputers will be small.
The size of a mote today is about the size of a grain of rice. That eventually it will be possible to make things that are on a sub-millimeter size scale.
Tiny specks of computer smart dust will form a vast invisible network to manage the infrastructure of even the largest city.
And basically distributed everywhere.
These tiny computers record information about their surroundings, information they can send to other computers or to you. Smart dust will also allow buildings and streets to recognize you and respond accordingly.
The city will know where you are.
Your workplace will know you. Smart dust at the entrance will boot up your computer, and smart dust embedded in the elevator doors will automatically ring your floor.
Smart dust, and the new technology may soon make it possible to keep track of anything, anywhere, including you.
Smart dust originated with DARPA back in the 90s. This powder-sized chip is something called the Mu chip from Hitachi. It's the smallest commercially available RFID system in the world. You can literally scatter this stuff like dust or embed it into a sheet of paper. It doesn't require a battery. Flecks of computing power settling on your skin, ingested, monitoring you inside and out.
The nanoparticles are designed to go under the radar of the immune system, and so they are undetected in the body.
We have computing everywhere, we have connectivity everywhere, we have infrastructure that can compute those with new capabilities like AI.
If you have enough data and you have enough computing power, you can understand people better than they understand themselves, and then you can manipulate them in ways which were previously impossible.
Transhumanism is a growing movement that aims to use technology to modify our bodies, sometimes in radical ways to make them stronger, faster, and better.
Quantum computers. Right? You saw the character walking by. All of the quantum computers that they're building out. I've obviously gone into deep dives on quantum computing and summoning the demons, as Gordy Rose and some of these tech psychopaths have talked about. They've literally compared quantum computing to summoning spirits and summoning demons. So quantum computing, remember, Project Stargate, Donald Trump, they're building out this massive control grid with quantum computers and artificial intelligence. And the end game here is to get inside of your body, but also to control you through artificial intelligence governance, which is why you see them tearing down the government.
No matter what. Being fixated on color, migrants, none of that is going to help. Not a fucking bit of it. That's why I always talk to people like we're out here on the porch, because we are. That fat piece of shit took $300 and wouldn't tell you that's your own anatomy. Point blank, here's the Wikipedia. And then he bitches about a trot line because he's surrounded by censor hunter button pushers. They're not going to go to war with one another. They're going to make you kill each other with stupid people. And I'm hoping that what they're trying to do with Trump is some big final hurrah of getting those that care. But I don't think that's there. I mean, I can't even say it, so I'm not buying into that. Whatever they're doing, maybe they're threatening one another, gambits, different ways to try to pull the power out from under the same people who put all this in place.
Masoneria a reușit, după ce au realizat socialismul și comunismul și forma anarhia politică, au reușit o performanță mai mare. Slăbănogirea creștinismului prin creștini. Nu păgânismul mai este un pericol pentru noi. Nu ecumenismul acesta de care nu scăpăm. Vă spun deschis, marele pericol este al căderii puținilor creștini care au mai rămas. Noi trebuie să asigurăm o rezistență creștină, să nu mai gândiți la o biruință. Numai Dumnezeu este cel care biruiește.
Quote-unquote religious undertones like RFK talking about the man on the white horse, and it needs to be covered because Christians are clearly falling for a massive deception. Here is somebody posting on Twitter, conspiracy realist.
You lied about the biological networks, Bi-Fi, and all the others. And that's why it's so mission critical now to keep it simple. Do you shit ham sandwiches? Does your lunch go in your mouth and come out your butt the same way? No. Would you jump in that bullpen? No. So we need to start being very real with empathy, telepathy, and the way that it functions in the body, because it's just neurons. And your 501c3 cult leaders, they can't be bothered. They'll tell you you're evil and run you off. From the same body part Jesus had. Jesus was a man, whether you believe in him or not. He had a biofield, and he knew how to use it, just like King David did. When you lie about God's creation, when you lie about plasma physics, or plasmonics and material physics, okay? See what I did there? For people who have a faith. And how about the atheists? They're not stupid. They've seen enough sci-fi movies.
Tell me.
I don't know.
Tell me.
I don't remember.
Tell me your first memory.
Hey there.
Some people know who this lady is, some people don't. But if you've been paying attention in the last few years, you probably may have heard of her, or at least somebody might have sent you some of her work. Because I do believe that there are levels to this, right? There is the, hey, everything's normal in the world and we just need to vote for the right guy level. Then there's the, okay, I'm pretty sure both these politicians aren't that bad, or are pretty bad rather, but I'm just gonna vote for the one that I think is less bad than the other, right? That's a separate level of being awake. Then you have the group of people that are like, I know there's something's up. I know they're both bad. I'm not really interested in what that is. I wanna know the truth. That's the other level. And then there's the other level that's like, hey, you know, I used to work at this job and I got a crazy security clearance, plus my family and my colleagues and all the milieu of the crew that I run through and work through, they all actually have higher clearances than me. And here's what's really going on when you combine my expertise, their expertise, and everybody else. That's like a level that's way up here. And that's a level that I don't operate on. I don't have any military clearance levels or anything like that. But I am interested in hearing someone whose family member may or may not have, to the degree that it can help inform me on what's really going on. Because if I can tell you one thing, y'all, what they say going on, that ain't what's going on. All right?
N-am mai răspuns la mesaje. Drept e că mare parte din ele nici nu erau foarte deștepte. Probabil parcă amurăcios, dar doar suspicios, cu lumea care pare că s-a întors cu fundul în sus și sus în jos. Tu poți să aplauzi furtunos, dar dacă mă întrebi pe mine, nu văd nimic frumos în tot circul ăsta satic la care tu râzi sarcastic.
This is very serious. And so far, we are not seeing any sort of seriousness except the very few of us who refuse to fall into more bullshitting, pacify and control, just sit there. They're still going to work. They're not bothered. That's a problem. If you have children. If you don't have children, then why the hell would you care? Go get augmented, live forever. But if you have children, and you've already survived these freaks, this is eugenics and genetics. They're looking for their little food dish or their hard drive. For them to survive. Did you forget? They're encoding ciphers, whatever they need for these special networks, will be stored in the body of someone they love so much. They got to Stepford them around for how long? Who knows? And you're worried about Oprah and Diddy. That was stupid. That has nothing to do with you. More distraction. What do you really do when you go to work? Oh, that's under your own roof. Can't have you looking there.
I was holding things. Did you feel anything? Thanks, you stretched it out probably. Thank you.
Please,
stretch it out.
stop
I
it.
don't want to wear it.
Please.
Și lipsă de cunoștințe iau de bun totul. Eu cred că demon babilonieni le bagă pe gât la pământeni, marțieni și klingonieni. Actul patriotic stigmează America, zic că chipul e antibiotic, sfidează biserica, fiindcă cică vrea să te spele pe creier. Dar ei ți-au făcut asta deja cu un MP3 player. Memoria, istoria și gloria, toate practic ni le șterg iezuiții, Bilderberg și alte cercuri elitiste, ce suprimă de fapt creștinismul și ți imprimă în cap cretinisme. Naziștii și-au spălat trecutul cu Dero și sapă după țapii spășitor ca Nero. Pregătesc guvernul mondial Amero și numărătoarea merge rapid spre zero.
I ain't dying for you, and I'm not going to make a fool of myself or anyone else by continuing to pretend that there's some big grand master plan here. People are too afraid to talk. So get your fucking mouths moving the right direction. Everybody got a body part. How do you use yours? That's the important dialogue now. All the things that you do, whether it's Faraday, EMF, all the rest, those things to a lighter degree, Lighther, you go ahead. But the only way to beat this internal shit is to be able to feel it. Tell them how. Tell them it's human anatomy. The Emperor has no biofield. Buffy stabs Edward at the end. Have a good day.
Trump destroys the globalists at the World Economic Forum. He's got a picture behind him of Trump holding up the fist. I mean, complete sheeple, right? Likely a government operative, 2 million subs, these people talking about being suppressed and taken offline. Oh, right, well, if you keep them in the left-right paradigm, they will not take you off of YouTube, obviously. But, the people in the comment, they're like, yeah, he destroyed the globalists. What world are you living in? What world are you living in? Because he went there and he said America first, or how he wants to put America. I mean, he literally told everybody at the World Economic Forum who he said were his friends that he was going to bring about and fast track AI infrastructure. And none of these people have the slightest clue what it means, even though they're revealing it right in front of you. Scary time to be alive.
Când doar unul trage tare și altul trage la măsea, unul rage pentru toți, altul tace în pula mea. Unul face tot ce poate, altul face tot ce vrea, până nu mai poate face ce altădată îi plăcea.
Pe linel cu strop de rouă, când a fost la 89, nu au mai putut răbda, haiduci-au umplut strada, că nu vor securitate și rația din gosate. Nu au mai putut răbda, haiduci-au umplut strada, că nu vor securitate și rația din gosate. Veneau flăcăi din uzine, precum uroi de albine, dar prin ei erau iscoade, de-ntorceau vorbele toate, de-ntorceau vorbele toate. Of, of, că dai amor. Ce-auzea, piciu parcă robotea, Kalashnikovul țintea, TV-ul televiza, voinicii se iau la trândă, în televiziune cântă, cucureau adorul lui. Au mai fost o românie, au mai fost și alte țări, au mai fost și o să fie, și aici și peste.
They have programmed instructions through chemical hormones. Anyone that understands genetics, you're very familiar with this already. If you're not, I'm giving you a very, very small crash course in the idea of how genetics works. And it's through, your RNA and DNA, but also it's implemented through your chemical receptors of growth hormones. So this is where, right off the bat, the angels are genetically manipulating their offspring. This is why, we'll go back to the verse real quick. This is why it says they taught them charms and enchantments, and then the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And the next sentence says, and they, that's the women, became pregnant and bare great giants. They had great kids as giants. This is why it's being told to you in that order. It's telling you what they're doing. We just have to know what the definitions of the words are that's being used in that passage in Enoch chapter 7. This is the biology behind the idea of what cutting roots means. And it's a manipulation of growth hormones.
Same thing, bottom of the totem pole, you got your MDs and you got your doctors who call it viruses, viral networks. And then at the top of your totem pole, you got your military and your telecommunications who call it nanoparticle networks, your viral nanoparticles. It's just nomenclature, shedding, it's nomenclature. It's really just load balancing.
So again, like he said, it's nomenclature. It's just what the culture has become accustomed to hearing, and the media is the masters that manipulated us and keep using those words on us. And then we keep believing the same thing, except for those who go to the source and get educated about this information.
Cum adică? Uite, vezi, mă, aici vom avea mereu o problemă. Când tu vorbești ca și cum eu n-am de unde să știu, dar eu mereu știu, prostule.
So here we go, continue.
Bottom of the totem pole, you got your MDs and doctors who call it a vaccine. Top of the totem pole, you got your military who calls it every vaccine a bioweapon, a viable bioweapon. And then you go to the very top of the totem pole, which is your telecommunications, who calls it a biocyber interface. Bottom of the totem pole, you got your MDs and doctors who call it gene therapy. And then getting closer to the top of the totem pole, you go to your military, they straight out call it genetic engineering. And then you go to the very top, and they straight out call it genetic engineering, protein folding. They call it exactly what it actually is, right? So it's just nomenclature. That's the part that people need to get past, and they need to realize who's at the bottom of the totem pole and who's at the top of the totem pole. I would rather go directly to source, to the top of the totem pole, and learn from them than learn from the bottom of the totem pole where they use nomenclature and incorrect terminologies purposely in order to keep you confused.
It is not Sabrina's aim nor my aim that you be afraid at all. I know I saw somebody say, this is kind of scary. Like, I don't know what to do. It is kind of scary. When you first hear about it, I'm not going to lie. I was sitting there like...
Dar vezi ce la televizor și dă-i cu șmecheria și după educă-mă zi-mi care-i șmecheria. De ce ți-e frică te ferești până crești, dacă când crești te orbește șmecheria. Dă-ți două palme mânca, în țara ta vei fi jumate tu, jumate păcat. Și cine-i frate? Cine-i aproapele tău? Că încui ușa de 3 ori, uită-te iar pe vizor.
Because you allowed it instead of being smart. There's a difference, right? God says be as wise as serpent, right? Be as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves, which means be smart. Don't make stupid decisions. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to be real kind because these people need food and more. Oh, these are the same people who told you that you shouldn't be allowed to talk. They wanted to censor your speech. They wanted to cancel you. Then they said you were a conspiracy nut. Now they want your food and water, which they said was crazy that anybody would think to store those things up. Now they think they deserve it and they should get it from you when you've been trying to save humanity, fight for humanity against these psychopaths who are in control. All right, no.
Am iertat, n-am uitat, n-am picat test. Dacă nu era tranzacțional, acum este. Vezi că eu nu sunt Elveția mânca, nici Iisus, însă mi-am învățat lecția în cam capul sus.
This is what's happening, y'all. It's the tech industry. It's not what y'all think. So the Internet of Bodies, the biofield, and what's really going on in the world as far as like the unseen realm and the militarized nature of the unseen realm, particularly the body part that's referred to as the human biofield.
Bad behavior, your astrology, as in verse 13, is mixed in with this kind of behavior. This is the behavior of Babylon since its youth. This is the behavior that was rampant throughout all the nations that practiced idolatry, but I'm trying to draw a specific focus just to Babylon through this series. But this is why in Revelation 18, verse 23, future Babylon is described as the same concept. And the light of the lamp will not shine in you any longer. The voice of the bridegroom and the bride will not be heard in you any longer. For your merchants were the great men of the earth, because all the nations were deceived by your sorcery.
But people are nostalgic to it because why? It reminds them of a time period. That's why now more than ever, you're seeing this with adults, right? People now who are 60 and 70 brought their kids to Disney. They're not nostalgic about it, like to the point people are now, but it's not a major thing like with the men. Why? Because all the stuff that's trending with women is about women's rights, equality, all of the trigger points of the New World Order that they've been hive-minded into. And have they done this? They've told women that the world's suppressing them. They've riled them up to a point, and then they feed them the ideologies that they think are the right ideologies. And their brain's not processing what's being done to them because they're narcissistic and prideful. And that goes both ways. Both are prideful, obviously. The men are pridefully stupid. The women are pridefully arrogant. Does that make sense? Or should I just say everyone's just pridefully ignorant? That probably makes more sense. So this is why we are where we are.
And for the most part, people are used to concentrating on inconsistencies or systems within these buckets separately. This middle part is illustrating that we're under a transition, y'all. We're going from a centralized market to a decentralized one, and it ain't all roses and smileys. We're going from conventional financial systems to these new biometrically attached financial systems, okay? We're going from, conventional internet based off computer servers onto this new Internet of Bodies, where, yes, ladies and gentlemen, yes, they are actually controlling electricity and electrons and thermal adjustments in and around your actual skin.
People keep hearing spike protein. They don't even realize what they're actually talking about. They're talking about the nanoparticle self-replication. Bottom of the totem pole, the MDs and doctors. They call it synthetic DNA plasmids. Top of the totem pole, military and telecommunications. They straight out call it engineered cells. They use bacteria, E. coli, and phages. It's just nomenclature.
Bacteria,
so
E.
when
coli,
you're hearing
and
DNA,
phages.
synthetic DNA plasmids, what they're really saying is engineered cells. They've injected you with engineered synthetic cells.
They're synthetic,
and
so
those
you're
cells
patentable.
are merging with your cells, converging with your cells, and making your natural cells more and more synthetic as they continue to self-replicate and merge.
Unde-i biletul tău de intrare? Când n-o să mai fie apă și roboții nu repară oameni. Pe prieteni îi înveselești plângând. Nu ești prost informat, ești doar prost ca românii de rând. Eu n-aș înțelege dacă aș fi în locul tău, dar nu sunt. E anul celor 5 tigri, galbeni ca pepenii sau ca petele de pipi.
These young people, 25, 24, they're just so excited with synthetic biology.
iGEM stands for the International Genetically Engineered Machine Competition. It's a global synthetic biology competition that brings together teams from all around the world to compete in essentially engineering organisms to have new functions. And we want to find a way that's more sustainable and reliable.
So we created a 3D printer, which prints hydrogels, which has our E. coli and yeast.
And yes, it's possible. And yes, there's patents. And yes, there's white papers on this. And yes, there's textbooks on this. It's just that it's compartmentalized. And the point is for people to not really catch what's really going on kind of till it's too late.
Sunt supărat rupt în două de muncă și pe cuvânt îmi caut demnitatea când vă cânt cu nervii la pământ.
But if you listen to what he says, they give us the wrong lexicon of words that lead us down stupid rabbit holes, and the patriots can make money on it. But then when you get to the real information, you sound like a lunatic. So he is telling you the game and how they're playing it.
Stau să scriu versuri în loc să pun mâna pe armă. Ne-am schilodit, cel mai rău e rezultatul. Îl vezi pe nătărău cum se bucură când toarnă. Să iei personal ceva atât de organic, testoși cultural și fericirea lor de plastic. Tu le zici oameni, eu le zic reclame și ecrane. Sufletul e scamotabil, ce se țese e o vidanjă. Canalizare care varsă aceeași varză. Și babuinii își fac omlete, se filmează. Relația umană e falsă. Spitale ard în noapte de parcă nici nu contează. Cel mai mult le-a plăcut democrația. Au zis că sunt sătui și-au curățat farfuria. Meseria lor nu era geografia. Ziceau că nu știu ce, dar practicau malahia. Un simptom incomod, lipsa mea costă mult. Am un neam ca o gloată de copii prematur. Papagal foarte bun, spun aceeași poveste. Nimic din ce crezi tu că e gratuit nu este.
So if you haven't noticed, we're in this full tilt. Out with the old and in with the new. Out with the old and in with the new. Set out with the old.
Am zis la fraier în oglindă că ne îmbogățim și a zis înapoi frăție să te ții.
Our qubits are actually superconducting wire loops that are interrupted with a circuit element called a Josephson junction. And we make our qubits long and thin. You can see that there are 4 of them running vertically here and another 4 running horizontally here.
Ce părere aveți de...
I mean, you can make some sermons about that. What is the circle we've been talking about?
Îmi dai voie o părere sinceră.
Sinceră, vă rog.
Îs român la mine acasă.
The circle representing Ra in ancient Egypt. And then Joseph was sent down into Egypt and God blessed him regardless of what the enemy's intentions were for him, to where he became second control of all of Egypt and saved Egypt as well as the rest of the world from famine and starvation. He interrupted the plans of the enemies and got in the mix of Ra's business. And the Joseph's junction does this with the cube. It's probably a stretch.
Băi, copile, ești tâmpit? În ce țara pulii mele trăiești, băi, copile?
Am tot fugit și m-am hrănit cu tot ce nu puteam să simt la tine. M-am amăgit când am iubit, doar cât de mult mă iubeai tu pe mine. Am tot fugit și m-am hrănit cu tot ce nu puteam să simt la tine. M-am amăgit
Iarăși nu mai e nimic. Mai e un pic. Iarăși nu și lumea moare. Am mai trecut pe aici, nu știu câtă oară.
Let's just say people are going to want to die, but death will escape them. Like they will like want to die, but not be able to.
And just gently drop it on there.
Okay.
It'll get pulled right over because of the magnetic field.
Wow, look at it building up. Whoa.
Can transmit information via optical circuits incredibly quickly and efficiently.
By the year 2030, there'll be computers that can carry out the same amount of functions as an actual human brain. So theoretically, you could download your thoughts and memories into this computer and live forever as a machine.
Hexagonal lattice of carbon atoms called graphene.
It's actually soft. It's still a liquid, but because of the magnetic field, it's actually taking on a different shape.
Hiding the truth in plain sight and building a false reality on lies and deception for far too long. And now, their time is coming to an end.
Te invit să visezi cu aceiași ochi o altă lume. Nu uita că știi de fapt doar ce ți se spune.
The government would never. It's illegal. You heard her say that earlier. But they would never. It's illegal. Yes, they would. Yes, they have. Yes, they are presently. And yes, they finna do it a whole lot more. And you can keep talking about legal and illegal, but half of y'all gave them consent in various ways. Now, I know you didn't know what you were consenting to, lack of informed consent, but it was still consent nonetheless.
La ce pula mea te uiți ca muta? Sare sânge din boxe, ce vrei mai hardcore de atâta? Pad supus cu cuta, dacă ești dus cu pluta și nu te deranjează că ești condus cu pâta. Iluminatii te vor static, apatic sau mort în cazul în care nu te bagă după gratii. Guvernul mondial deja ne-a închis practic și ne ucid sistematic. Ține de tine, tati, și de ce opțiune ai să răspunzi la agresiune? Frică sau dragoste, chestiune de viziune. Platon a omis fatal un cuvânt esențial. Omul e animal condiționat social. Nu-i nimeni de vină că o să mor de la vaccinul de gripă porcină. Mai bine decât o viață fără lumină divină. Setat de rutină în uzină, bobină, jumătate chezină, benzină, filme de duzină, pline cruzime. Spală bine retine, reține vecine, bagă către tine și mine. Sufletul lor fiind rece. Îmi pare rău dacă te lasă textul în ceață, dar eu nu scriu cu textul în față. Mai degrabă te tai cu flexul stranță. No, glumeam, stai calm, îi știu bine sensul în viață. Vorbesc de spirit, de-aia nu înțelegi centric. De-aia e fix degeaba dacă înțelegi un pic, că tot nu conștientizezi nimic din ce zic.
That are using torsion fields, toroidal fields, which is what your biofield is comprised of. Don't even try. Morphogenetic fields, regenerative medicine, life extension, Vermont, Harvard, Northeastern, Johns Hopkins, all of your academics are in all these conferences.
Țin să comunic un mesaj vital pentru umanitate. Aștept să moară Iliescu neiertat de păcate, fără lumină din lumină, rânjit pe oala de noapte. Cât mai e pe piața neagră gramul de sinceritate.
So you no longer have any high ground to stand on. And as they mentioned on the X, those of us who are telling the truth, we're just commoners. Yeah, we're the ones who are rather pissed off that all of a sudden we're told the only way we get to go is human augmentation.
Revoluția nu va fi televizată, are cont pe Facebook. Îți dau link, dă click, n-are bling, n-are plan de marketing. Huliganii nu mai atacă masa, atacă cu marsuri pe mes. Polimagnetici migrează, s-așează invers. Suveranul pontiv postează pe MySpace de iPhone prin 3G. Chipuri biometrice se inserate în pașapoarte. Ia-ți GTA 4, teroristule. Pune glonț d'argint pe țeavă pentru diavolește.
The effects that graphene and what it does with music. Crazy, right? It dances around, it moves. Now, why is that, you ask? Well, this is another episode of A Call for a Science Guy. It does because of the radio frequencies, the magnetic field.
And she makes a very valid point. We have no power. The only thing we can do is spread this information as fast as possible amongst the peasant slave class, so that hopefully we can get enough of a following and enough people aware of what's going on.
Dar te trezești cu un cap de cal lângă dacă refuzi vreodată oferta, respect omerta. Transform deșertul în junglă la cât pot deșerta. Respectăm jertfa ce o aduc. Mi-am omorât timpul să mă educ, dar m-ai lăsat aici singur cuc și ai tăiat-o ca și restul eunuc. Dar vezi prostia, v-ați luat nasul pe sus toți ca rinoplastia. Am stabilit ca mea-i felia, a rămas bătut în cuie ca mesia. Am explozia de a explora poezia, să-mi fredonez frenezia.
So all the words that she uses, if you aren't aware of the foundation building up to each and every one of those words that she uses, you might have a disbelief set in that what she's talking about is too big. It's not. It is not.
A rămas acolo mască, are multe traininguri de marcă care stă în casă. E no fun, dar ție o să-ți treacă. O să afli adevăruri care sigur n-o să-ți placă.
Creating this type of stuff where nobody could really tell you the actual benefits of it, but they use terminology like I said, they talk about science and medicine, the medical field, new discoveries, and all these people, their brains are shut off. It's all they need to hear. They're just key words that trigger their mind to shut down and go, oh, okay, I should accept this because it could be beneficial for my health or someone else's.
And that's all they do is they regurgitate that language. And you can tell by the certain people that comment, you can tell that they've never done a single bit of research in their life. All they do is they listen and they believe what everybody tells them. Because they use the same fucking language. All of them do.
E un joc de șac și te bați zilnic cu tot ce face. Pif și paf, te stinzi îmțat. Oricine au apreciat, căutau mesaj. Roșu, galben și albastru nu-i un steag, e un bandaj. E capul ce se pleacă și a lăsat aici 1000 de ani de labă. Din ea se nasc falsele valori. Greu să ai drumul tău când ești în calea tuturor.
And I'm wondering, you mean you can't or you just won't? Because I think if they could explain, if they would explain how it actually works, it might be an actual physical, like someone joked, it might be an actual physical concept to communicate with the spiritual realm, but not just unclean spirits. And so just bear with me and I'll...
Omul din casă are un cal care moare. Pământul e plat, nu vezi cum stai în picioare. Mă bronzez la lună și explozii solare. O rocă plină de apă care are gust de sare.
Because there's a ancient debate between what is light. Is it a wave or is it a particle? Some people, I think it was Newton that tried to say it was a particle, and there was some other dude named Hooke, the scientist named Hooke, that was like Newton's contemporary, basically. And he was trying to say it's a wave. And then people afterwards have tried to say, well, it's both. Just depends on there's something called the double slit experiment. And they try to say, well, if you're not looking at it, it's a wave. But if you do look at it and observe it happening, it actually turns into a particle. And so they claim it's this big mystery. I think it could very well be the background radiation of creation. It could actually be the fabric, the ether itself, the thing that would have intangible communicative, instant communicative abilities with all things and all of the creation, depending on, direction and source code and intentionality programmed.
Stau în acest oraș blestemat de un vrăjitor neinspirat din galaxia Gutenberg, în constelația Marx. În lipsa unui ghid m-am rătăcit în labirint, în visul unui ciung amorezat de alpinismele. Cel mai bun tip de sclav, ascultă bine, stă într-o cutie și el crede că e liber. Când aveam 20 de ani, credeam mult în tine, dar acum am învățat să văd oamenii mai bine. Ești un trădător și o balegă de vierme. Toată cariera ta e o pierdere de vreme. Discontinuu e despre tine, te desconsider, gândește bine. Poezia mea e lux în gălăgia de rebuturi. Ironia a durut în terapia cu trecutul.
He speaks a curse on the Milnor. There's the triquetra. In Indian traditions, Om serves as a sonic representation of the divine. That means a sound, right? A syllable. A standard of Vedic authority and a central aspect of soteriological doctrines and practices. The symbol is often found at the beginning and the end of the chapters in those texts. It is an absolute character, syllabolic representation of the Hindu Trinity. This together creates the Hindu Trinity, the sound of the Om. And it's depicted with what they call a double trinity, which exists inside of what looks like a six-pointed star, but it's made up of two triangles. The Shakti and the Shiva triangles put together creates the 6-point, and this is found within their tree of life, which is also a part of the Kabbalah, 10 levels of dimension. This is why it's all replete within their astrology, their numerology, their symbolisms for their trinity. And they're talking about this symbol and explaining it. People from India explaining what these symbols mean. Just in case people are watching and they say, oh, how do you know what they're talking about? You can't trust all the scholars' interpretation. People from India explaining what these symbols mean. The Shiva, the upward triangle, and the Shakti, the pointing down triangle, put them together, you get the 6-pointed star, and that represents the Om, represents the Hindu Trinity. It represents literally the cosmic dance and the points of the famous statue of Shiva. And I'm sure you guys can all see that it looks like something else we all recognize too, right? An ancient Roman temple, looking at the ceiling, right? So if you lay down your back and you looked up at the ceiling, you would see the double trinity with a god in the center underneath the ceiling. How about on the stained glass on a Mormon temple? You know, that religion that was created by a guy who had absolute history of Masonic brotherhood, Joseph Smith. And here it is inside different symbols as it points to this double trinity idea that is the physical representation of the essence of the absolute supreme within the Hindu belief system and their trinity, is also found within a tree of life, Sephiroth. It's also encircled by a snake that's eating itself, with the Ankh in the middle, with the peace sign, which the Nazis absconded later, but it's originally supposed to be a peace sign in ancient India. But this was the symbols for their gods. It's all consistent. So
then the processor is accessible, as well as all of the internals of the refrigerator.
It's like the cylinder they've created. And at the bottom, as he shows, of that cylinder is where the actual chips are. But it's like a tower hanging down, basically. Kind of like almost like if there was a firmament and a New Jerusalem that came down. But anyway, that's a different topic. So I'm wondering if the actual construction, if you could make a quantum computer with a different physical hardware construction. I don't know if this is the only way that they can make a quantum computer, to where the information has to come down to the bottom of the multiple layers to get down to the chips at the bottom and then sends the information back up. Because if that's the case, boy, that's interesting in relationship to the creation model, where there's 7 layers and all the information of creation comes down to the ground level and then goes back and reports back to the Father. Something to keep in the back of your mind as we
let the truth be known. You better watch what the fuck flies out of your mouth. So here's the truth about the system that'll fuck up your mind. They gave Al-Qaeda $6 billion in 1989 to 1992, and now the last chapters of Revelations are coming true. And I know a lot of people find it hard to swallow this, cause subliminal bigotry makes you hate our freedom. I can't believe you bought that excuse. Rocking a motherfucking flag don't make you a hero. Word to ground zero. The devil crept into heaven. God overslept on the 7th. The New World Order was born on September 11th.
So they put that back there for a reason. Now, obviously, this is causing some bigots to be hateful towards Women's Day, right? But what's ironic about all of it is that we see feminism pushed so hard in our society today, obviously because they're recruiting for the communist agenda. They've taken a lot of women and they've molded them and manipulated them. And I do have to say, I always comment on my channel about if you're a teenager, how you should, how important you are and how great it is that you've come out of the mind control programming and you're awakening. But I also want to point out, because I think about it often, the women who listen to channels like mine who are awake, and people of color, black people who listen to the channel who are awake and don't buy into this propaganda that makes them victims, are extremely strong people and extremely intelligent people. So I just want to commend the people who listen to the channel who don't buy into the feminist stuff and realize that they're being worked. And the black people too, who realize that they're being worked, that they're tricking and manipulating all sorts of people, women, black people, Asian people, Hispanic people into this communist agenda. So the people who listen are obviously awake and aware, and they don't take the bait. They put all their faith in Jesus Christ, not in man, and they don't listen to their mind control tactics. But back to the video.
Ze szczyta za szczytem, zaszczyt za zaszczytem. Lśnienie mistrzostwa kieruje moim bytem. Ambicja spotyka się z uznaniem i zachwytem. Wyrzeczenia są tutaj jedynym zgrzytem.
He said no. They want to buy the thing ready to go. It costs us $250 to build maybe. We'd sell it for $500. And then the retail price was $666.66 because I, as a mathematician, like repeating digits. And that was what it should be.
So if you went and you bought the first Macintosh for $666, you took the mark? No. No, but this is a subtle way of them letting you know how technology ties into the mark of the beast. And that's something that everybody should be able to realize now. The people who talk about Sunday law don't understand the worship that is going to be needed with the mark of the beast and how human beings are conductors of energy. And energy is going to be very much needed. Like energy is used in witchcraft and sorcery, energy is going to be needed to feed the beast. So there will be worship associated with the mark, but it will be technology. And now,
and just so conservatives don't take it to heart, I don't think Bush did it cause he isn't that smart. You might have some house niggas fooled, but I understand colonialism is sponsored by corporations. That's why Halliburton gets paid to rebuild nations. Tell me the truth, I don't scare into paralysis. I know the CIA saw Bin Laden on dialysis in '98 when he was top 10 for the FBI. Government ties is really why the government lies. Read it yourself instead of asking the government why, cause then the cause of death will cause the propaganda to die.
I said, how did we suddenly get here?
Apple's logo is another great example to show you while we're on the subject of Apple. Do you think that Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, in addition to selling the first computer for $666.66, decided that they wanted to use the apple as a logo? Remember, they believe they have that forbidden knowledge. And don't forget, on the subject of AI governance, talking about Apple intelligence, which is the transition, right? We've gone from the computer to all of these devices to the iPhone, to the iLens, right? The eye goggles, the Vision Pro, all these things. And Apple intelligence is the next step. Apple AI, right? And what is that logo that Apple's using for their app for Apple AI? It looks a lot like the star. How many points is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 7. 7, right? A heptagram. And what is the heptagram known for in the occult? Well, it's used in the symbol for Babylon in Aleister Crowley's occult system, Thelema, right? But that must be a coincidence as well, especially when people like Elon Musk, who is bringing in AI governance with Donald Trump, tell us that artificial intelligence is literally summoning the demon, right?
And figured out what was buried under Solomon's temple, Al-Aqsa. The name is not coincidental. I know too much. The government is trying to murder me. No coming back like cutting your wrists open vertically. How could the serpent be purposely put in charge of the country? Genetic engineered sickness spread amongst me.
What changed is about 300-400 years ago is it moved into, they decided, I guess it really started more like 500 years ago. They decided we need to help people forget that they live in an enclosed cosmology created by a creator. Because even the gods of old could not ascend above the firmament. They changed the whole setting through which the deception would come through. And they said, we're going to take this new model of a ball in space with no covering, with no barrier, with no enclosing, with wide open spaces, limitless, infinite limitless. Actually, the exact opposite of an enclosure with finite space. They're going to make it infinite space. So they just flip that on its head. They turn the flat circle of Earth into a sphere. And then they decided this narrative that is the ancient gods hierarchy is going to be repackaged. Instead of coming from the sky underneath the firmament, they're going to come from some other place outside of the known area of the earth, which is a repackaging of the idea that the gods came down and helped mankind. But they just changed the placement of where the gods are coming from, since it's literally the same quote unquote little g gods, right?
Can you remember how it felt to be alive? Your gut machine is golden, and your eyes, they cannot
They just changing the place where they're coming from. So therefore, the new generations of people can be deceived. So in order for that to work, well, then you got to get rid of, and you got to suppress, and you got to hide all the old world's evidence that all of this has been done before.
Vezi să nu ne poate trebuie lexic sau te bag în Brexit, află cine-i tata lor. Flow-ul meu e tare, tare și are vârf, înțeapă tare, tare într-adevăr. Dumele tale sunt trase de păr, invoci diavolul să ai un reper. E plictisitor să cânți adevărul.
The triangle fits perfectly on top of the triquetra, which has 60 degrees on each corner, which is...
There's the 369, and this is not a Little John song. There's the famous 369 from the occult, and this is how they factor it in
more details.
All right, so that's it for that. But have we seen this symbol? Yes, we know that Christians have adopted this symbol in Trinitarian circles, and they use it, but that's a much later thing. And I don't think that the symbol itself is somehow, a branding of something demonic. I just think that this is some of the language that the occult uses to speak with each other, and when they know what it means according to their sacred geometry, which goes back to, what's his name? Pythagoras, right? An Apollo worshiper and an occult.
Again, I feel like the most obvious thing with Trump and the color gold is more so than his apartment being covered in gold, even the Apollo painting is in his apartment, is the fact that he looks gold out in the open. Don't you think that he would see this if he's the narcissist that everybody claims that he is? And he'd say, oh boy, maybe I should just go to a tanning salon instead, or maybe I should just allow myself to be pale, and they put makeup on all of us anyway, so who really cares? No, we want you to know that he's Apollo reincarnate, that he's representing Apollo here on Earth.
Mai ascultați un OG când vorbește, deștepții lupește prăjit ca să creșteți.
And again, Apollo, for anyone that wasn't paying attention earlier in the video, Apollo is the sun god. The sun god is Lucifer, the light bearer. Remember again, Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name given to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning. Is it he who bears the light? Doubt it not. And the gold is all around. Gold statues, gold face painting, gold cards, golden age, golden pagers. And I probably left things out because there's been such a connection between Donald Trump and gold that you could literally find every single thing that he does and is affiliated with gold. In fact, I just thought of one off the top of my head. Those sneakers that Donald Trump was selling and everybody was making fun of, except of course for MAGA.
Înțeleg și-mi doresc să înțelegi despre ce vorbesc. Eu te rog să ai grijă la ce scrii, tot ce scrii se iscălești.
And let's not forget when we're talking about the golden age, the golden dawn. The Hermetic order of the golden dawn that Aleister Crowley was a member of. And Alice Bailey, who is the founder of Lucifer Publishing, which is now known as Lucis Trust, which is still playing a big part of molding and shaping the world today, including that office that they have at the United Nations building, which I've covered in separate videos, which again have been removed but are available on the website. It's incredible to me that most Christians don't see the affiliation between gold and evil, and they actually look at gold as if gold is some type of savior. They don't learn some of the lessons from the Israelites and worshiping of the golden calf in scripture.
De când pământul e plat, sunt alergic la sfaturi. Certa cu cerul bat câmpii, perfect adaptat și fac pe dracu în 4x4 să par implicat. Simt că nu-s făcut să fiu corporatist teleghidat, promovat la rangul de geniu pustiu furajat. Sunt de 30 de ani lumină la final de carieră, rapul se duce dracu la viteza mea de croazieră.
And then of course you look at the other things they get people to partake in. Holidays, right? And I know people out there mean well. I understand that most people are misinformed, but as the Bible says, my people perish from a lack of knowledge. So you have all these Christians and their churches celebrating Christmas and Easter. And it's one thing to say, you know what? We're just going to have the resurrection during Easter, right? Understanding what Easter represents. And say, look, okay, well, let's not talk about the eggs or the rabbit or anything else, the fertility god, Ishtar. We'll just talk about Jesus. But what do? They have their church to say, hey, we're going to do resurrection. But afterwards, we're going to have our Easter egg hunt for all the kids. And we're going to dress up as the Easter bunny. And we're going to perform in rituals that we don't even understand, right? That's what they get people to do by partaking in these pagan holidays. Because they don't tell people out there that they're actually pagan in origin, right? Easter is about Ishtar. Easter was originally the celebration of Ishtar, the Assyrian and Babylonian goddess of fertility and sex. Her symbols were the egg and the bunny, right? How about Christmas? People partaking in this, right? Not even realizing these are partaking in actual pagan/satanic rituals, right? Nimrod is what is depicted as Santa. Satan, right? Nimrod's birthday, December 25th. Same characteristics, long beard, holding reindeer, holding Christmas tree, right? All of this stuff is in front of people for them to see, but they don't care because they think that everything's a joke now because they've been trained. Their mind's like a computer system, right? They've taken that computer system, they've short-circuited it, and they've told them that everything when they hear people like me talk is a conspiracy and we're all out of our minds and we're all sticks in the mud and everything that they're talking about just means that you can't have fun, right? Sounds a lot like Satan, actually, who says, do without wilt shall be the whole of the law, right? The law under love. Do whatever you want, right? Even though the Bible forbids certain things and everyone still does what they want. Then when they hear, well, Easter's this, Christmas is that. Or, hey, going to Burning Man, you're partaking in a ritual. They go, I'm not going to burn somebody inside the Burning Man. Well, you're partaking in a ritual, and it's getting normalized in front of you. Taylor Swift did witchcraft. Oh, that's the big deal. It's just a show, right? You went to the sporting event. Literally had a pentagram and summoned Lucifer by chanting an invocation, calling on Lucifer to come out of the abyss, saying, hear us, O Lucifer, arise from the abyss, and then saying on top of that, take our souls. This is the world we're living in now. And you tell this stuff to people, they think we're insane. If people like me reach too large of an audience, they take people like me away and hide me and throw me out in the garbage can. They're making it impossible to wake people up to this stuff, but they shouldn't need to hear people like me to wake up to it. But unfortunately they do, because they are perishing from a lack of knowledge and participating in all these types of rituals.
The protector of Bioshock City is called Songbird. It's a giant, artificially intelligent flying robot built from robotics and the DNA of a woman's hair strand. And guys, this one is just, this one blows my mind. Like, I'm going to be actually getting into this little particular game as well, because it's a massive game. Lots of, like, the people that wrote this game put a lot of backstory into it and talks about how this entire floating city is based off of religion, and it's a cult-like religion. And it's just, there's so much symbolism in this game. It's just horrifying when you actually know what you're looking at. But, you know, if you're a 16-year-old kid or 17-year-old kid and you don't have a clue about this stuff and you're just thinking, oh, this is a fantasy game, right? It's amazing. I mean, it's a very impressive game, but when you actually know what you're looking at, it's horrifying.
But they don't expect you to notice these things. They don't expect you to notice someone like Ashton Kutcher doing an X over his chest when he's out in public wearing Freemason hats, or people like maybe Taylor Swift laying in a bathtub, folding its hands across its chest, making an X, or even Miley Cyrus the Virus, folding its hands across its chest in a bathtub. They don't expect you to notice these signs and symbols, which reveal who they are. So you have Cher doing the dressing as Isis, and of course doing the Antichrist symbolism with Osiris. And then many times during concerts, you see this, right? You see Cher with all these arms doing devil horns behind it. And nobody thinks anything of it. They're like, cool, neat, right? This isn't artistic. Of course, this is paying homage to the deity or demon known as Kali. And you can see Kali depicted here with all the arms. Kali is a Hindu goddess, so to speak, who represents time, death, and destruction, also creation and rebirth. And that's, of course, what's going on here. They're trying to destroy and recreate. They just do this in front of you and expect us to think that this is art, right? Of course, this is all about the Baphomet. For anyone that doesn't know, the Baphomet, okay, the god that has breasts and a wiener, right, is Baphomet's both genders. You see the agenda going on in our world today of what they're trying to normalize, how the occult, our government is trying to normalize this.
Are you caught by the nano rag glass on my light bulb? Half algorithm, half deity, glitches in the code, or gaps in a strange dream.
The Baphomet is pretty much, right, a goat with breasts and a penis, which means it's genderless, right? It's oneness. And the Baphomet's all about inversion. If you haven't noticed, recently we've seen him obviously yoked up with the alt-right media. That's done by design, right? Candace Owens suddenly speaking out against these same people builds credibility for Candace Owens, right? Some of these other characters that we see that get a large following that pretend to be oppressed and pretend to be silenced, right? And then you see him, of course, wearing the swastika on his neck. So the important thing to note here is the symbolism behind it. Because, of course, everybody sees the swastika. They automatically think of Hitler and the Nazis. And they don't know that these symbols are all occult in origin. And they're showing this right in front of our faces, right? And again, this goes back to Madame Blavatsky, you know, the heifer itself. But the origins of the swastika, which do originate from India, not actually Germany, the origins do go back to the occult. Blavatsky imported the swastika as a symbol of highest spiritual and occult significance and associated it with the fourth and especially the fifth spiritual, quote, root race of man, who alone can move history towards the new order. Because remember, the New World Order, people forget that all of these teachings from Blavatsky to Bailey, to Alice Bailey, to Aleister Crowley, they're constantly talking about a new order and the coming of the ages. So the swastika itself is rooted in the occult. And of course, the guy who's known for that symbol and the people who are known for it, well, they were actually rooted in occultism as well. It has nothing specifically to do with a hatred towards a certain group of people, because as we know, history is manipulated. What they tell us actually occurred and who was actually targeted is never really true. In fact, if we actually looked at history, we'd be talking more about the Armenian genocide than any other genocides that have occurred through history. Of course, that can't be discussed because Christians can't be looked at as victims. They have to be looked at as the big bad bully. So that way they can continue to turn people against them. And eventually when they try to wipe them out and persecute them, the majority of people will not feel sympathy towards that group of people. So Blavatsky in the book Spiritual Progress and Practical Occultism talked about the swastika as the Hermetic cross. So that's the reason that you see them use this symbol. That's why Kanye West uses this symbol. And if you think about it, what sense does it make that he's actually wearing? Well, of course, they want you to think that he's against the Jewish people. That's one of the ruses that they're pulling on society. I mean, you could even look at some of the symbols for the Hermetic cross, and you could see, well, there's a certain symbol that we would say is represented by a certain group of people, right? Then we would see the pyramid, as above, so below. We see that in a lot of occult symbolism, a lot of different sects of Satanism, of course. But that symbol that you see right there happens to be underneath that star that you're supposed to call the Star of David, which is really the Star of Raphaim or Raphan in Acts chapter 7, verse 43. Yeah, ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch and the star of your god Remphan, figures which ye made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. So you could see that specific star, you could see that specific swastika, and of course, you could see the serpent eating its own tail, which is another symbol that we see associated with the occult, right? As well as the Ankh that is placed right in the middle of that star. So it is an occult symbol that most people out there, they see it, they've been trained to automatically think it means one thing, and to never to realize that the symbol's been around for a very long period of time. And the people who use that symbol all worship the same God, Lucifer. That brings me to the outfit. Because you would think by the year 2025 that people out there would actually know the origins and be angry about the origins of how we even had a group in the United States of America called the Ku Klux Klan, right? But the origin of the Ku Klux Klan and the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan go back to a few specific people, which include General Albert Pike. So if people out there knew that Albert Pike was one of the people responsible for the creation of the Ku Klux Klan and the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, and was also one of the people responsible for becoming not just one of the leaders of Freemasonry, one of the faces of Freemasonry, whose teachings are taught throughout Freemasonry, you would think that people would say, you know what? If this is where the origins of this came, it didn't happen organically. A bunch of people didn't just hang out at a bar and say, you know what, I don't like people with the opposite skin color for no reason whatsoever. There was a strategy to this because it's all about divide and conquer. So they created groups within groups to start dividing the people. It's the oldest trick in the book. Albert Pike is one of the central figures in the development of Freemasonry and became a national leader of that organization. In fact, some of his books like Morals and Dogma continue to be taught to this day. And if you look at, some of the imagery in it, you can see all of the Masonic imagery, right? Including that pyramid with the all-seeing eye that's on the back of your dollar bill. And you know what else Albert Pike just happened to be all-knowing and knowledgeable about? All these created wars that they actually fabricate and create themselves to bring about a new order, right? Things like the plot of the Civil War all could be rooted back to Freemasonry and Albert Pike. Or how about just how Albert Pike conveniently wrote about how World War I and World War II and World War III would all play out. World War III with the Zionists versus the global Islamic leaders, what you see going on right now, that's about to get even more ignited in the upcoming months, especially with Donald Trump in power. All of these things are scripted and formulated. But of course, you don't hear Kanye West, you don't hear Candace Owens, you don't hear any of the alt-right media ever expose Freemasonry. Isn't that interesting? They never go into the DeMolay, how they groom children, how most people out there have a tough time understanding when some of these events happen at schools and these events are faked, that they actually have their DeMolay in place, or they have their Rainbow Girls, which is the female version, where the Eastern Star witches groom them and the Freemasons groom the DeMolay. And these people take vows of secrecy and loyalty to these adults who groom them. And then they carry those events out as actors. They go on the news and they're smirking and they have a script that they read and they go on every news station for days on end. They don't even show an emotion, right? Because it all gets rooted back to these same people who just conveniently happen to start these wars and know how these wars are going to go. And of course, what's the thing everybody should know about these people who should be disbanded? Well, it's their worship of Lucifer, right? Because if people realize that this was all rooted in Satanism and Luciferianism, well, guess what? It wouldn't exist anymore if they knew that they were conspiring against all of us. Straight, gay, black, white, Christian, Islamic, whatever it might be, right? I mean, this is from Albert Pike's own mouth.
Dar uite cum privind globul de afară, aud un bip la fix 300 și am înțeles subit că asta e ora la care se face update la chip. O să încerc să citesc viitorul în globul ăsta al meu, ca să văd că o să fie mai ușor sau dacă o să duce mai greu, dar pentru moment.
At this tech fair, a chipping event for those on the cutting edge, merging their hands with this new technology.
I thought it would be fun, right?
As for the pain,
I barely felt it.
but not everyone is racing to get chipped.
Feel less human. I will feel like a robot. I think, it's so much more data can go into this, when it's in your body.
In the future, do you think everyone is going to be chipped?
I think it'll be voluntary, but I am certainly convinced that millions of people will find it very, very valuable to have a smart device under their skin.
This is from the 50s and 60s with RFID in humans. Oh, we need a chip. They already chipped people like dogs for 2 fucking decades. By the 80s, they didn't need a chip anymore. They had the wireless.
Sfânt alien, divine fiecare arie. Devine stilul meu pervers ca Iurie Darie. N-am compasiune în program, n-am program, mă. Autoproclam rege în lumea ta de porțelan. Nu dau un ban fiindcă n-am, deși fac rap cam. De când tu ascultai manele și visai merțan. Infinit, no, ca alc strâmbă bituri. Necipilizat aștept să-mi bat în pulă microchipuri.
Iau și mai bine, caută neîncetat și fără rușine. Nu căuta nimic în mulțime, mai bine caută-l în tine.
If you are wondering why everything going on in the world feels so terribly off, then you have come to the right place. A veil has been put over the eyes of humanity, evil people in high places.
În În mod evident, la noi e încă evul mediu. Speriați de cât de slab suntem, am confundat o travă cu remediu. Desenul frunzelor pe cer nu e o promisiune. Să fim răi unii cu alții pare singura misiune. Mă situez în dimensiune, în starea mea de plastic. Și e super frustrant practic să vezi 20 de ani cu trecanos. Cum dai valoare vieții tale când nu te cunoști? Pentru român, România e o investiție proastă. O mașină nouă azi, mâine o să fie o rablă. Psihic instabil, cinic prin destin ciclic. Privesc căderea lumii otrăvită cu principii. Am un pic și un beat și un vis stupid. La sfârșitul zilei asta e tot ce am, în rest nimic. Numai regret și stres și griji și nervi. Și azi devine mâine când trecutul a fost ieri. Astfel, unic la fel ca toți. Primul e doar norocos, ultimul e cel mai prost. Noi râdem enorm, dar clovnul rămâne clovn. Omul rămâne monstru și hip-hop-ul rămâne mort.
We have the thymus, the bone marrow, the lymphatic, your vessels, your spleen, and your skin. There's your biofield. And the electrical, lymphatic, and vasculature, your adrenal system, 40 to 60% of your enzymatic response with your hormone control. It's all here in the electrical homeostasis of that body part. And they have it with Project Salus, which has been around since 1954, watching every phase and phase state of every cell in your body, down to the bone marrow. And everybody went, that's impossible. And I said, go listen to Dr. Brian Artis. He's going to tell you that's Project Salus, watching Humetrix iPads with an intensivist, and the AI makes the decision for precision AI healthcare. Then you're going to see it again and again, ever since COVID deployed. AI precision healthcare, electroceuticals, therapeutics, nanoavionics, telemedicine, telehealth. We're going to fly a drone over your home. Wireless healthcare. It's here. Biomedical wireless tissue engineering.
România nu e o țară, e o fiară periculoasă. Tu-i strici să se trezească,-i trează și mă vânează fără pauză. Simți pericolul plutind în aer, la spital ți-i bol, la poliție ți-i bătaie și n-ai decât să taci, să îngroși rânduri de daci ortodoxi, mândri că săraci și proști. Nu că mă dau deștept, dar singurul tău drept rămas în bocan drept care te calcă pe piept, în timp ce semenii te sapă, e tradiția și te știi de zi în zi iar, că ți-au umilit părinții iar. Spuneam că-mi pun ceva mâncare sau în apă, e o travă, situație e gravă, ar vrea să crap în grabă. Nu mai e de glumă, frate, nu mai e de joacă. Justiția în prezent e doar un nume de țigancă și nu sunt siguranță, mă simt ca o țintă. Pe bune, cred că România vrea să mă ucidă, zic. Nu știu de ce vrea să mă lase fără puls, ceva ce-am făcut sau ceva ce-am spus. Poate doar de frică să nu fie părăsită. România vrea să mă ucidă. Să fug sau să lupt, habar n-am cum fac. Cert e că trebuie să scap cumva. Populația în curând egală cu mulțimea vidă, că România vrea să ne ucidă.
So, I'm not casting spells with a sorcerer. I'm using the wireless to make changes to your feature values or your biosensors inside of your body. I put in what feature values I want to change in your digital twin.
Well, if you go to the hospital today and get an encephalogram, what's that? That's the memory of your conscious mind. It's on the CD. Let's download it on this being. Now we got a walking, talking duplicate that has the total memory that you have because we just took it off of your own mind.
Okay, it's like Blade Runner, the android.
Exactly.
N-ai cum să ieși în cazul în care te găsește nepregătit, nu-ți dă timp, te belește, te tăvălește.
And then I hit fire on my data source, which goes through artificial neural networks and other math computation to make sure it hits. Tell me how. It's all fucking movies and fairy tales to everybody else. I fucking physically survived it, scars still on the body. Can you imagine? My attitude is a little different. Tell me how.
Isterin și isterii în fiecare zi, ce toarnă coniac și conformism în fiecare nice. Contactul concret cu compromisul, societatea, individul, contradicții. Trăiesc înconjurat de toate astea și mă doare cât de falimentar e visul de maximizare. Aș vrea să spun prin ce trec, dar mă detest și mai mult atunci când mă lamentez și fug de chestiile astea. Ar trebui să le spun, să le asculte ipocriții care n-au fost de acord. Văd doar o farsă jucată la ton de actori, îngroziți de ce nu au, nu pot să iei în serios. E doar un neam de trădători, sunt sătul de impostori. Puteți să sugeți pula toți, nu e pe calculator. Nu e niciun interes pentru niciun național când omul e condiționat să fie irațional. Și cel mai nebun dintre voi era normal. Vă dau direct spermatofite ca un anason stelat.
They call them the others. I thought it was interesting. They're people. Remember, these people can think and act, but they don't have soul. That's also prophesized.
Right,
Soulless
that's
beings.
true. That's true.
Fuck your line covered in, fuck all these clones, fuck all these gun-toting hip gangster wannabes.
Wirelessly reading your DNA. And what were you told? Well, if you listen to music like that, they're going to get you. Meanwhile, they were playing it under the churches with the help of the pastors. I would know that was part of what my parents were doing in the small town I lived in. So, now you have to ask the question. I just showed you this is a body part. Want to see it again? It's not hard. Sitting here talking to you and breathing. Now I'm going to put a little effort into it, breathing. Little kinetic energy. Cerebral spinal fluid change. They couldn't have everybody knowing that you could just create stem cells right there, just like that. That's what I just did. They couldn't have everybody knowing that this body part was available to anybody. They got to have you believing that you need a rope. You got to bleed on the ground. You got to have a religion. You got to go over here. You got to do this. You got to say that. None of that is real. None of it. This is anatomy. Fucking human anatomy. And you would think that it was the most secret, super thing. That's because they're using their telepathy and empathy. Those are neurons, by the way. They're not some psychic ability.
Străin la tine în țară, băi copile, vrei un răspuns bun, nu mai pune întrebări stupide. Câinii mor așa frumos, n-o să trăiesc la infinit și n-o să mor de 2 ori. Și Dumnezeu tău e unul rău, că tu ai fost cumpărat cu ce era deja al tău. Deci adevărul tău e o minciună și hip-hop e ignoranță pură. Emițător, receptor, toată lumea minte și fură, asta-i poezia.
Mă fut în el de respect, o spun cu toată stima, căci văd întunericul care ne suge lumina.
I finally found the fucking technical documents. It is called PSI, psi, and I told you that. It's psionic abilities. They siphon the neurons for it and take it away from you. They can't siphon neurons.
Bro, what?
I'm sorry, I'm not a 5-star chef!
Hey man, it's cool. Let me slow it down for you.
And of course, they tell you with their fleet police force, it says fleet or army on earth, we are one people with one will, one resolve, right? The motto of the New World Order, one. And it said on the screen on January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984. Because, of course, they don't want you to think that they're one and the same.
Ce ca un film de acțiune, dai tăi din facțiune. Cu orice infracțiune, sunt mult peste ficțiune și lipsit de rațiune, că nu suport zăduful, da. Ți-ai vândut pădurea, e o minune că mai suflu. Ai obișnuit cu puful, de ești alergică la noi. Mă tratez ca un gunoi când sunt la 112, dar până ajung pe targ o să fiu mort oricum. Sunt 30 de ani de când salvarea e pe drum.
And all of this stuff is going to be brought in by that great magician.
Because he's so irrational, he's so crazy, that's actually create that awakening, that we finally wake up. Because before it will be another guy and everything was similar. But he's so different than anything else. So he's the magician who waking us up. What do you think about that? that kind of theory. Trump is the best thing happened ever to us. That he is the magician of the highest order. That he is there in his irrational mind to create confusion.
I don't understand, Bubble.
E o neconcordanță între ce spui și ce faci, băi, stranță. E malpraxis, stilul tău plastica, memoria vastă ca un elefant spastic. Sălbatic tot timpul, dar mă chinui și filmul e că stilul meu îți rupe filmul. Normal că nu sunt primul, să învârte ca CD-ul. Normal să vrei ceva frumos, ceva ușor de distrus, digital sau analog. Doamne, Doamne, dă-i ceva să facă.
General message of the UN's Phoenix Rising mural is that humanity is stepping into a new Luciferic reality. Beneath this disturbingly prophetic mural, world leaders make global decisions that affect the lives of nearly 7 billion people.
So that should be a wake-up call for people when they even see a mural like that. Explain it to us then if we're all just deciding that this is what it is. Well, it's art. You can interpret it however you want. Well, anybody with common sense can interpret that using common sense, could see that. Well, that's not normal. That's not normal for world leaders to meet there and conspire against the people of the earth and have murals like that that literally show the phoenix rising, show the end of humanity, enslaving humans, right? And all of it comes through this carbon tax. That's why it's very important to pay attention to all of the things that are going on with the United Nations, all the things that they talk about openly. UN, World Economic Forum, same thing. They're all just different organizations with titles that gives them more of, they're meeting here, they're meeting there. It's the same people that go and attend all of these, the Bilderberg meetings. We know that it's all the same people. So while everyone's distracted by all the ridiculous crap that you hear the alt-right media push, pay attention to what's going on with ocean shipping and the carbon tax, because it's coming directly from the UN, who is going to go through with this. You can almost guarantee that they are, because right now everyone's paying attention to what? Tariffs and their stocks, their 401ks. And the majority of people don't know what it means to have a carbon tax. Only Canadians right now really know. Some people in the UK might know, right? But they aren't looking at it from the standpoint of the businesses, and they might say, well, they're gonna put a carbon tax on the shipping, which means that the consumer's gonna pay more. It's bigger than that. Because once it's implemented, once we start hearing about a carbon tax, once it starts showing up on your bills and your receipts, you know, when you get a paper receipt, which is rare these days, but just say you get one hypothetically, right, from a store, and it has all the, you're like, what is this tax, that tax? You'll start seeing a carbon tax. You'll start wondering what it is. You'll start hearing the media try to explain it to you, right? And then they'll start tying in behavioral control and how, well, all of these tornadoes and hurricanes that we're creating and how we're killing people and not reporting on it on the news. Yeah, well, that's because of carbon emissions. So if you don't want to get hit with a tornado, we need to change our behavior now. That's what's coming in the future by 2030.
Laugh it up. Isn't it funny? You don't even know where to look for triage. You've been busy listening to the Pfizer ENTech employee for 2 years tell you that biosensors are a bioweapon, and that this very same body part that they're all working with is a demon field, rather than 80% of the immune system of humans and the main point of electronic injection and telemetry for electronic warfare. So what are you going to do? You have no idea that this is an actual piece of human anatomy. And then if you try to talk to your good friends about it, if they're Christian and they've listened to Pfizer employees, they're going to tell you, shut the fuck up, that's a demon field. If you try to talk to them about the biosensors, they're going to tell you, that's not some 802.15.4, that's a bioweapon. Now you get to argue with your own family. Well, who do you have to thank for that? Malfoy and Betty Boop. But you're not going to do that. You're not going to turn on those people. Oh no, they tried to help. Really?
Acesta e adevărul gorgoluț. M-am întors din drum când trebuia să plec. And that's the fucking thanks I get. Am înțeles tot ce era de înțeles, însă n-o să mă convertez, doar converg. În continuare cinstea mea pe patul de spital, la aparate conectată. Brutus pare încântat sau doar o joacă, oricum nu contează. Nici nu a contat vreodată ce urăsc la mine. Cel mai mult e faptul că îmi pasă, bro.
Where did I get this? College textbook. On emergent technology. Where's everybody else? Busy watching politics to their death, just as they planned it.
Mă bucur să primesc o lecție de viață, bro. Poate că am fost relaxat și prea de viață, bro. Mă face să fiu mai atent, să fiu pe fază, bro. Oricum știam de la început că nimănui nu-i pasă, bro.
Now, no one is going to be able to do proper triage. Nobody. Because you won't let us talk about the anatomy, the human physiology, that you're using for every single one of these systems. What I would like to politely ask of you, as a survivor of brutal medical testing as a child, get out of my way. This is an epigenetics and eugenics experiment.
Nu, de-aia cumva speram să nu am înțeles că unul vede flacără și altul fum. Așa că am lăsat-o jos unde era și până acum. Adică fiecare cu ale lui, cui proco și atât.
Now, if you're in my shoes, and I have two children, they're 18 and 19 right now, in 2023, who the fuck gonna be left other than robotoids and people who are laced up with graphene? Because the transhumanists are running this show. No one's telling the truth about the body part involved. No one's telling the truth about the equipment we already use for 60 years. They're lying and telling them, nah, we're using voice to skull, boogada. Count the spells being cast on you with JavaScript. And then, no, the AI ain't smart enough. Biosensors aren't real. No, and viruses aren't real. Photons aren't real. Nothing is real. Just believe what I say and give me money. I'll heal you. You'll have to come in twice a week and pay me for the next 6 years of your life, but I'll heal you. You still won't be healed when we're done, but I'll tell you will. Take your money and go down the road, and you'll still be sitting there suffering. Kind of like if you believe we only use smart dust. We don't use biosensors to electrocute you. We don't use synthetic biology to change out your biology. We don't use anything but smart dust. Because we're a one-vector kind of situation at the Department of Defense, we figure we only need one way to get you. And that way, if the target gets away from us in some other vector, golly gee willikers, we're just so stupid. That's what we're dealing with right now.
Gobbledygook. What would that make you feel about your entire life and what it means about what you heard as this uniform, agreed upon, greasy grace message? I'm asking for a friend, huh? Because I've already asked myself, and I've processed this, and it took me a few minutes, y'all. I'm telling you, it wasn't an easy thing. And then nobody told you that there were 13 versions, 13 officially perfect versions, some that don't have the same books as the others. So which one's the perfect one? Which one's the infallible one? That's what I ask people. So regarding the little season, and I'll wrap with the little season conversation. Yes, to whoever asked that, I do believe we're in it, or we're in a copy of it. A lot of people don't know what this little season is. This is a concept that the book of Revelation speaks about. This very short window, we're not given how long it is, between the 1,000-year reign and when God comes and puts an end to all evil and says, enough, vanquish, devil, boof, be gone. I'm being a bit facetious, but I'm basically the end of the book. The sky opens up like a scroll. Every part of the shenanigans stops. And ostensibly, that's the end of what we're given as the linear play in the end of Revelation for the end of the age. And the point is simply that the children and the offspring of those born during that 1,000-year gap need to have a fair shot at choosing good versus evil. And they've only had a one-sided option. It's not truly free will if you can't ever make a bad choice. And you look at what is prophesied to happen, and then you cross-reference that with what historically did actually happen during the Jewish-Roman War. And you consider that that was within this generation, the 40 years that Jesus said this would all happen within this generation. and you really put the puzzle piece together, there is a much stronger case, if you ask me, that can be made for the fact that what 70 AD or 73, the Jewish-Roman War, represented was exactly what the first 20 chapters of Revelation are talking about. And that likely their inclusion in canon is to help you, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, be able to clue that together. And it also sets up a fair loop for everybody who doesn't understand history because they're doomed to repeat it. But it doesn't suggest that the entirety of Revelation is fulfilled. It suggests that up until chapter 19 or 20 it is. It's like, okay, I get it. Now that I'm like emotionally detached, they just lied to us about history. I'm not even sure there's been 2,000 whole years between then and now. Let's not keep in mind that year 1 AD was not year 1. So when did we all start calling it the first century AD and not the 1900th century since the beginning of time? You see what I'm saying? There have been resets. Understanding that resets have happened helps soften the blow as to how can we be in the millennial reign, or how can this have happened, or where is God's kingdom, or where's the new heaven? Listen, the new heaven, new earth might have came, and we might be on that new earth in a destroyed fashion because we're that much later into the story. I don't know. I'm just saying, when you zoom out, a stronger case can be made for the fact that most of Revelation was actually fulfilled exactly when Jesus said it would be. The historians just didn't tell you about it.
99% of the population would rather go along with this tech if it meant that they'd have to get rid of their phones and start learning how to live on their own, independently, grow their own food, survive without the government, right? And they don't want to do that. So a computer that's running on human brain cells, ladies and gentlemen, in 2025. That's how I know we're very close to the end.
Aș vrea să dau cu pace pentru nimeni. E mult mai important să fiu pe pace eu cu mine. Am avut hemoroizi mai simpatici decât tine. Și să spun că sunt român îmi e rușine. În fine, unii sunt cu statul, adoră să dea sfaturi. Lumea suge, marea parte joacă teatru. Ipocriți, se văd mari martiri, obedienți față de un sistem represiv. Poet de succes, retardat în sensul trebuie să mă maturizez, să mai muțăresc versul. Mulți au înjurat când au simțit pe pielea lor, în pantalonilor crocanți de gospodar la prozar. Sunt ăștia, obsedați de confirmări de sine. Lumea e ok și ei au făcut bine. Joc jocul lor, îmi bat jocură. Eu joc jocul meu de la locul. Ei optică pe alocuri, inoculez. Jec pasionat de băștinași paralizați. Nici nu știu de un soia când îi dau de gol ca Charles. Ce s-a întâmplat aici e regretabil. Lego-ul oamenilor mici a sufocat soarta unei nații.
Cam atât, oricum, degeaba le spun. Îți spun eu să prefac toți că nu înțeleg. Râd pe sub mustăți în sturioni. Am zis de studio, luați o piesă cam cât un album. Eu capitanul versus păcătos, number 1.
Pap, să ne calmăm puțin, dar ține cont că aș putea fi gata să mor pentru ce susține. În schimb tu, par genul ce s-agață de viață atunci când simte cum chestii tenebroase îl înhață.
I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.
That's a strange prophecy, y'all. And I can see it lining right on up.
Recunosc că te-am urât, apoi mi-am dat seama că te-am mai boală grea și că nu vei scăpa de ea curând. Eu am purtat-o până nu de mult. O să mă rog pentru tine, poate mă ascultă. Doamne ajută.